Keep moving on. Keep moving on. And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
Hello and welcome back to The Dive, Season 3, Episode 2. We mean Season 3 as in third year of The Dive, not third split of The Dive. I'm not sure if like podcast naming conventions are standardized or anything, but usually a season is...
Blame you for it.
What? I didn't say anything. That was you. Other people do seasons in different ways too. It's weird. Anyway, week 1 into the LCS, a lot of cool stuff happened. Team Liquid managed to jump out of the gates 2-0. A lot of hype teams like maybe the Golden Guardians did not start as well. So there's a lot to cover. What do you guys want to start with?
Yeah, it was a super exciting first week. I think the biggest thing that we have to set the table with is that Team Liquid dominance at the top, right? Because some people had questions. They're like, oh, maybe they won't all be able to work together. After week 1, everyone's like, okay, yeah, they're probably going to be the #1 team and continue to be the #1 team because they also had a decently difficult schedule. A lot of our top teams play the other top teams at the beginning of the season, and they beat both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially when a lot of people thought, okay, well, C9, because they had that hardcore Korean boot camp, their best chances right now, right? Because Teal hasn't had as much practice. So you're going to get him while it's hot or whatever, right? And then Teal won anyway, so it's kind of like, ooh, Teal's pretty good. Definitely looking like their offseason acquisitions are upgrades. Definitely looking like the favorites to repeat as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the schedule point is a good thing to keep in mind even throughout like the next 3 or 4 weeks. The fact that the top teams played the top teams and the bottom teams played the bottom teams is going to influence the schedule a lot going forward. I do think the Team Liquid versus C9 game was actually really close. Like that's a game you could watch and think that, hey, if they played again right afterwards, maybe C9 wins that one. So looking forward to that. And the Jensen on TL looked really good to begin with. And that's I wonder if that assuages some of people's doubts kind of down the line of like, will he be able to coexist or will his attitude happen? I mean, everything looked great for Team Liquid right off the bat.
Yeah, as you're saying too, for Cloud9, I think they also are one of the teams that look pretty strong. Niski at the beginning, the first game, he's against Jensen, and you miss some Zoe paddle stars, and they start spamming Twitch chat with Miski. But then later on, he finds some kills on him. They win some team fights with it, and they started calling him Hitski again. And you kind of go through the roller coaster. How do you guys feel like this guy is going to mature with the team and build with this team? Because I think that Cloud9 are going to be one of the strong teams this split. Just not quite sure how to place them because we do have a lot of switches around it, especially in the mid lane.
I mean, I've got a lot of confidence. I think that he is going to grow into a fantastic mid laner. He does seem to as well. He had an interview where he basically said just as much. He's very confident he'll be one of the best mid laners in the league by the end of the split. I mean, he improved, I think, a lot over the last couple of years. When you look at his MV days versus, his days in Europe, and then coming back here, like I think he is a very talented mid laner. A lot of the players that I've talked to have said that they think he's very good already. Certainly, he still has stuff to learn, but if you even think back to like Jensen's first game, I remember on Cloud9, I think he was down something like 100 or 150 CS against Bjergsen. I remember watching that in the studio.
I was going to say 40 at
it was like
10,
it was
15.
Maybe I'm super exaggerating and misremembering.
Get a single minion.
But it was like I remember watching that in the stands, and I have in my head that he was down over 100 CS. Maybe this is totally incorrect, but I think Cloud9 even won that game, as funny as that is. But regardless, I mean, his second game was obviously very impressive. Yes, who he messed up and kind of gave him a lead, but you saw like how dominant he could look with the lead, and he did, turn it a very impressive game against 100 Thieves, who, yeah, they had a rough weekend, but still a lot of people have them very high in the power rankings. So I still think, there's something to be said for that. Yeah.
Looking at some of the other teams that are 2-0, and then we'll get to 100 Thieves and whether or not the 0-2 is alarming there. The quote-unquote surprising 2-0 teams are FlyQuest and Clutch. I had Clutch in the playoffs, unlike you guys in my preseason power rankings. I'm willing to say that was a good call.
Wait, let me check. What did I put?
Our aggregated power rankings had them at 6th. I think I maybe had them 7th or something like that.
Aggregated wasn't 6th, I thought. I thought aggregated was lower.
No, they're 6th.
Oh, Jack, better check your numbers here, brother.
Right, check the tapes.
Jack had them in 5th. We had them in 6th overall.
Okay.
Kobe had them in 6th. You had them in 5th. I had them in 7th. They were aggregate 6th.
Okay. So I guess I didn't have
you, then me, then you.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I wasn't as overly.
And they turned in. I think a really strong week. They certainly like. I think the biggest surprise though is how they performed.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking that okay, if this team looks good, like I believe that that Hooney could pop off and be dominating and really carry some games, and it wasn't. Wasn't obviously about that. DeMonte was extremely impressive.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest surprise. He got back-to-back player of the games. He was really the difference maker against TSM especially. But his Galio game in the first game was really impressive too. So I think that's an encouraging sign. You know, Hooney had one really good game, one like more average game, but DeMonte looked great.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say with Hooney is the first game we saw out of Hooney where he just spots rushes Karthus in the jungle, like immediately ults and flashes over kills you. You're like, damn, this is how they're going to win some games. And then you see the game where he's up against Broken Blade and dies just starts 0-3. Looks like it's going to be another one of those power feed Hooney games. And the fact that they win that one is, I think, what gives more faith to the team, not just from DeMonte, but from the fact that the bottom lane was solid, right? Piglet hasn't really been an LCS starter for years, and there's a lot of skepticism about whether or not he can succeed long-term. And with our incredibly short sample size, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I really like this DeMonte point, though, because, he's a North American mid laner, right? A very rare breed in the North American LCS. And he did a bunch of interviews afterwards as well. I think he's actually getting pretty good at doing the interviews, by the way. He has a pretty good philosophy about it, and he wanted to approach kind of tackling this North American mid laner issue by taking a lot of risks, being one of these mid laners that does look to create game-changing plays and look to carry for the team, which is kind of crazy when you're seeing him on a team with Hooney, right? And you're thinking, okay, so Hooney's going to be the, hard carry guy taking risks, right? And Piglet.
Piglet took some risks.
Yeah. But I was really impressed with DeMonte, specifically the 1 versus TSM, where that was a game where, as you're saying, Hooney is getting crushed on the top side. And they're not used to having, this dominant pushing power on the top side to have some pressure with, and he just farms up for the majority of the game on Akali. He almost gets himself a bounty just by farming up on Akali, and then once he gets the bounty by killing Acadian, like this one game-changing moment while they're behind trying to play defense, he gives up some minions on the top side, he rotates over for the chance at a vision play, which I mean, that's not the consistent play. Like, you to take the minions on the side instead, but he gets a big bounty. He is Akali. He had already been farming super hard, and then he's able to really change the game for his team, and I think kind of create that win where there was not a win before. That, to me, is a very big step for one of the kind of new-ish guys on the scene, a maligned role of North American mid laner. So, I think definitely good things for him.
Yeah, and I mean, it was against Bjergsen, right? He's laning against Bjergsen. You're saying he farmed.
So he's on Akali.
He was like, well, he was sitting at, I want to say 11 or 12 CS per minute. It's like something huge. Like he was over 10 CS per minute, certainly. I don't know exactly where it was lying, but I remember it hitting like 30 minutes. He had like 320, 340, whatever it was. I was like, damn. And then as you say, he starts picking up kills, and all of a sudden he is rich and he is taking over the game. But as much as a maligned role or whatever as you put it, NA mids are, we had another NA mid popping off. Poe Belter was also popping off. I think he also got back-to-back player of the games, I do believe, for FlyQuest. And they're sitting at 2-0 as well. They both had very similar Galio games where they were both dominating on Galio. Both had great flanks on that as well. And then Poe Belter turned in a really strong Lissandra game as well, where he was looking really, really good, really proactive, was able to find another flank in that game that was pretty game-changing. And when I saw the Poe Belter interview a while ago where he was like talking about how, on Immortals, he was able to be really proactive and aggressive and make all these big plays and stuff, and he just kind of like couldn't do that on TL. I was kind of scoffing at that. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. But he kind of shut me up this weekend. I think he did look a lot better than a lot of what I had seen in the past. I mean, yes, he had great games on TL. Yes, he was Finals MVP, but certainly was really, really impressed by how much of a game changer he was in the first weekend.
And I think Poe Belter has a bit of a history of jumping out of the gates strong, right? I remember at even the beginning of spring last year when he was on TL, we were doing countdown segments about whether or not Poe Belter could be the MVP of the league.
Oh, yeah,
remember? I want to ask you this though, because we mentioned at the top of the show the scheduling point about certain teams starting 2-0. Which 2-0 do you think is stronger? Like Clutches over Fox and TSM, or FlyQuest over Golden Guardians and Optic? Because like I look at that,
Clutch.
right? How well do I really believe in FlyQuest yet? No. There's a chance they're going to be in first place because their first game next week is against COG, who also looked terrible in week 1. So I do want to wait. I want to wait and see more for FlyQuest, whereas I think I'm more confident now that Clutch is going to be competing for playoffs, but not necessarily yet for FlyQuest.
I guess for me, for FlyQuest, I'm looking at it from the point of view of this is the team that I had last in my power rankings, right? So like, I'm not necessarily
Optic down there.
Like, I'm not even trying to say like, oh God, yeah, FlyQuest is going to win it all. You know, they're going to slam everyone, but they're clearly a lot better than I thought they would be at the very least. So. You know, I'm kind of willing to eat my humble pie on that one, and they look definitely far and away from the worst team, at least in week 1.
Yeah, I've been talking to those guys a lot. I think they're definitely going to do decently well. I don't think that's going to be one of the top teams challenging our like top 4, I guess.
Okay, but you think like they should be competing for
But
playoffs.
I think it's a playoff team, for sure. I've been hearing so many good things about Santorin specifically for the jungle. And as you said, Pobelter looked really strong coming out. So, I definitely think that FlyQuest are going to have a bit of an up year this year.
Viper impressed me too. Like I wasn't expecting him to do as well as he did. And again, as you say, quality of opponents does matter a lot. But Viper turned in a solid rally game as well as a Scion game. You know, the Scion game, most people are like, okay, well, yeah, it's Scion. Let's see them on a carry. Kind of was the same pattern as Broken Blade, I believe, right? Because Broken Blade played a Scion game and was like, okay, you did well, but let's see a carry. And then he played Aatrox and was solo killing him. And he said, he was like, all right.
Remember we were going to have like this weekend was going to be the big test for Broken Blade where he has to go against Someday and then Huni.
He passed.
He passed the test with flying colors.
He did. I mean,
maybe even got a gold star from the teacher.
yeah, I'd give him a gold star for week 1. Although I would say towards the end of the clutch game for Broken Blade, he was getting poked down a lot too much. Like he was never really able to get involved in team fights. And that has been a systemic TSM issue. This is not necessarily saying Broken Blade needed to be the one to fix this, but that is definitely an area where he could have improved.
Yeah, their mid-game transition is, TSM, they were set up to go 2-0 this weekend, right? They by all means, they had a huge lead in this game. Broken Blade and Acadian, those two were controlling the early game so heavily versus Clutch, killing Huni over and over. And that's why, again, like we're talking up DeMonte so much in that game, for the ability to keep Clutch in it and make that turnaround. But also then people will always start to point the fingers at the team that had the lead and be like, okay, look what you did to give that opportunity to Clutch Gaming. So I think the TSM fans got super hyped after the first win, and then they're getting a little bit scared of similar worries as maybe they saw last year. It's definitely not at the level, I think, of last year, but definitely
it hasn't had time to build up yet.
They have to clean up the kind of mid-game transition.
Yeah, I mean, I thought one of the issues was simply just even lane assignments. Like they got so far ahead in top lane, and then you're trying to talk about them getting poked out, but like Broken Blade started going mid, I think, almost to try to match the Akali. Kind of got aggressive on the Akali a couple times, had to pop his ult defensively, had to run away. Like he was losing a lot of his pressure there, and I think, there's more of an argument for that. If you're laning against a Scion and you killed the Scion a couple times, all right, go somewhere else. Maybe you're not going to get that much, but they're like killing the Victor over and over and keeping the Victor down is pretty valuable. And I felt like they could have just continued to maybe snowball top lane and push their advantage through there, like take Rift, take towers, pressure top, just continue doing that style of play. And it felt like a couple times Broken Blade did go to try to challenge DeMonte and kind of took a bad end of those trades. And like, that allowed, I think, Clutch, not only DeMonte time to get farm and get strong, but allowed other members on Clutch, I think, time to farm up and really get more there.
All right. What would you say was your favorite match of the weekend, if you guys could pick one? Because I'm remembering this one. I really did enjoy this TSM clutch one because
Okay.
it was kind of this comeback. It was a back and forth where it wasn't just one team dominating the whole time. I also really liked the first game, the Team Liquid Cloud9 one, because I also thought in that one there were moments of power for both Cloud9 and Team Liquid. And it really did depend a lot on kind of the skill shots and the setup.
I'm going TLC9.
TLC9.
I still think after 1 week that these are probably still the 2 best teams in the league, and they had a close competitive game. That was a finals rematch that also featured like Jensen switching teams and going to the other side.
That was pretty
There's just
hype.
too much cool stuff in that first game. It's going to be my favorite of week 1.
Yeah, I agree. I was trying to think of like a, hipster
hipster,
answer.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe there's one they didn't think of, but
I mean, I'll give you a hipster answer.
What?
Optic Academy taking a game off
Oh,
I just didn't want to. I was like, I actually thought about that, but then I'm like, I don't even want to talk about CLG. They just look so sad. They essentially like that's the 9th place academy team subs in for LCS with
happened?
Crown and then beat CLG. He's like, come on, man.
Optic has said in the past that they really wanted to do a 10-man roster.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe because this was they said the
But they're
academy
also
guys said they
missing
played like
players.
2 games with Crown.
Yeah. I mean, I think Crown was practicing with the main roster because I know they certainly have been practicing for longer than,
Right.
2 games, right? He was practicing with the Medios, Arrow, etc. version. Arrow is waiting on his visa, we found out, right? So he wasn't able to get there. So like, okay, well, Arrow's
then
not
you're
going to
gonna put more
play.
synergy.
And then they're like, okay, well, we want, Asta to really be able to succeed. So we're going to put in his academy support. And then I don't know, like the logic, I think got like less sound from there, but it seemed, because then it was like, okay.
throw them all in. But
well,
wait,
the
Crown is a
bot-
world champion. Keep his ass in the
yeah,
mid lane, right?
exactly. It's like, okay, well, the bot lane's in there, but then, all right, well, the support has played with Dardox, so Dardox is in there, and then, well, if Dardox's there, let's get the top laner in too. Like, it's kind of like, okay. So I'm not sure if I fully buy into the 10-man roster stuff. I got some questions about that on Twitter as well. Like, is this like following the C9 success? Is this like the future and everything? And I'm kind of like, well, it remains to be seen, right? Because from what everything I had heard, they were very clearly planning on starting, Arrow and Medios and that version.
Yeah.
And the visas threw a wrench in the gears. So I think it kind of remains to be seen. But I will say at the very least, Asta was impressive.
Yeah.
And I do think that if I'm watching those games as Optic coaching staff, you're like, well, maybe Arrow doesn't start because he hasn't looked that good for a while.
I mean, yeah, Asta, especially impressive considering he had literally 2 academy games to his name, and then everything else was like amateur online tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, I think maybe some lands in there, but yeah,
Great character from an anime.
but exactly, like he comes out of nowhere. The first game, he's got this 1,000 gold bounty on his head, just popping off on Israel. It was definitely one of those kind of anime or fairy tale stories there for the opening. For the CLG side, since you brought it up with the kind of
moving towards the O2 teams.
since you were talking about rosters and is this going to be the new Cloud9 thing, Weldon actually had a really interesting tweet that our writer Elias found and put in our Slack channel. He says, thanks for the support in our season opener versus Optic Academy. We made a decision early this week to play Darshan and Moon versus Optic and Fallen Bandit and Wiggly versus Team Liquid. And then the kicker is, come help pick our lineup and explain how we lost draft at CLG Reddit. So they're crowdsourcing.
No,
I don't buy it.
Are they crowdsourcing their lineup?
No, they're pandering to their fans.
I'm just wondering.
I don't think they're doing
it's
either.
I think it's just community reaction. It's saying like, hey, be involved. We're gonna listen. And I'm sure at least that's my feeling, right? So maybe they get in there and there's some brilliant analysis and they're like, oh, that's pretty good. Actually, maybe he's right? But like that feels as much to me as like, who was your favorite player this weekend on our team or what? It's just that seems like community interaction.
I think it's a cool way to do it because it does make you like feel like you have some power.
Yeah.
Like if you're an angry fan and you're like,
were you on that
pick a lineup? All right, I'm gonna get in there and pick that lineup then.
Yeah.
So you think it's serious? You don't think it's sarcasm?
I mean,
Because when I first read that, like, I've seen so many salty coach tweets over the time be like, come tell us why we lost.
no, but
But I heard he was
I-
on Reddit answering all those questions and stuff.
Because that changes it.
I'm not saying that they're like literally like, please come help us. What do we do? Pick our lineup and stuff. But I am saying like they're gonna get a lot of feedback, right? And they're gonna take, you know, what they, like Isaac's saying, into consideration. You know, if someone like makes a good point in there, you know, I mean, don't think that it is completely facetious, right?
The COG subreddit's buying in. Like I see, I see a thread, helpful analysis for Weldon, bracket, who reads this subreddit, bracket, to relate to the team. And then it's like a 600-word, like 7-step, 8-step plan on how to improve.
This, if you do like have a bad opening like that, that's a kind of genius brand move to like turn your brand into the, oh, you guys get to participate in our team, right? Because that's kind of cool.
Is it short-term genius though? Because so if I wrote that 600-page essay and I'm like, you know, great, 600 page.
Oh shit!
So I'm in there, right? Yeah. So I mean, it's like whatever. So you write up all your feedback. You're like, great, I'm doing it. I'm gonna fix CLG, and then chances are they're not going to implement anything that you have said, right? You know, does that then frustrate you more? Like, does that then alienate you? I don't know. It's interesting, right? Like, maybe it depends on the person, and maybe that person then something happens, and they're like, that was me. I saved CLG.
There is an upvote and a downvote system. So, like, if the top, you know, the main thing that all the fans decided, right? And everyone's like, yeah, this is the best idea. And then they do the opposite. Then I can see there being backlash.
Yeah.
But like if they incorporate some of the stuff from that top one, see, it feels kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you post, Kobe?
I haven't yet.
No. I'm a little fascinated. You should start posting on this. Yeah. Get in there. Make your own thread. Be like, from a longtime COG fan, and then we'll see if they catch on like the Riot Kobe. It's like, this is what I think they should gank mid more, like something.
All right, get some Amumu in here.
Give the farm to the jungler. Let him take
Not
all
enough
the
people are giving jungler lane farm because of the reduced experience in 9-2, right?
Yeah.
Right? That can be the tip.
But either way, definitely a disappointing first week for CLG fans. Maybe the fans can save them with some coaching. Well, it remains to be seen. But yeah, definitely has got to be a bit of a rough first week, I think, for them. They went 0-2. They didn't look great, I think, in either of the games. You know, there's obviously anytime a team has a bad start, there's gonna be lots of criticism thrown. I think that like people though were expecting, you know, PoE is going to be really strong in the mid lane, the bottom lane is still going to be really strong from last year, and then as long as the top side is okay, then things are going to be going well. But it certainly hasn't kind of panned out that way, at least thus far.
So yeah, I mean, we can talk about some of the interesting things, right? Not just a general it was sucky. PoE I think is a good topic, because of the Xerath pick, right?
Yeah,
and you're like, okay, this is PoE. I'm buying it. You know, he has interesting champions. He has interesting builds for his champions. I'm like, okay, where are they going to go, you know, with this Xerath pick? But in the draft, I remember at that point, they already had Camille and one other form of hard engage that was not Leona yet.
There was a Kali.
They locked in Leona later.
They were doing a lot of dive.
It was Camille plus something that was hard engage.
Kali top, right?
Yeah, it was Darshan played Kali.
I'm not saying Kali's not the hard engage. It was Camille plus some other hard engage, like maybe. I don't know, but it wasn't the Leona, and then they locked in the Leona like last pick after they saw the Xerath 2, and I was like, oh god, he's gonna have his work cut out for him, because Xerath is already this super low mobility, you know, long range. He's really gonna have to utilize the long range, you know, strength and have the team play around protecting against the weakness there, but. I think Dardoch did a really good job with the Camille specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't remember what the other.
We did.
So you're saying what Optic had? Optic had Camille, Lissandra, Leon.
Okay, it was Camille and Lissandra that were locked in early. And they picked the Xerath into it, which for lane phase, you're like, okay, Xerath versus Lissandra is going to be able to, but
and it is a lane counter.
Crown
was dodging
did not make it seem that way.
Crown played really well. You know, he was, I know, dodging a lot of the skill shots, and that's how Xerath is based. And I mean, the Xerath idea felt somewhat half-baked to me because it was, you know, with the Akali, and it like, we saw some of the thought process there. Like, there was some pretty cool stuff where he would become almost in the jungle, and Darshan's going in like, you know, 1v1, and he's assisting with the ultimate and helping Darshan to get kind of 1v1 style of kill from long range. But then as far as the actual team fighting, it felt like, okay, well, everyone else on CLG felt like they wanted to dive in, and the Xerath is trying to like poke and peel back, and there's no one to protect him or play around him. So it felt like it wasn't like fully, you know, kind of maybe thought through, or maybe it was just peeled apart by good play from Optic.
You know how you could put that feedback into action? with the thread on the COG
www.
yeah, reddit.com/COG/r/COG.
I'm gonna post my picture from WCG with me and Hotshot and Gigi and Chowster and people at the end as like, you know, your signature. How people used to have signatures at the end of
Yeah,
one
yeah.
post.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then I know the other game he was playing Electrocute Oriana, which some people were criticizing, but I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah.
I think it's totally fine, especially with like how strong a lot of the domination runes are, not even just the primary. Like, yeah, you may be are doing a little bit less damage than if you took area or whatever, but because it's less reliable to proc. But like Taste for Blood and Ravenous Hunter are just so damn good now that like I totally buy that. So I think people are kind of unfairly criticizing him in some ways, and I still think like individually he had reasonable performances.
Yeah, I do think the additional thing that stings though is that he had the Optic rematch. Like he clearly left Optic to join COG because there was going to be the better team, and then it's like Crown replaces PoE, and then the Academy team beats PoE's team that he had just joined. So
that hurts.
That hurts. That's not good.
Yeah, this was our version of.
Although I will say, Dardoch on an Academy team is like cheating.
Yeah.
The dude's been a top LCS jungler for like years, assuming the environment is good, which it almost always is at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, first 4 week Dardoch is super OP when compared to end of split Dardoch. Okay, Golden Guardians is the next team we want to talk about because there was the stock game, Kobe, that you got to play on Countdown.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, apparently Golden Guardians looked like a great thing to buy.
So Golden Guardians, of course, they were going to be a value pick because they were back-to-back 10th place.
Not because people say invest in gold when the economy is unstable.
No.
Okay, just checking it out as part of your process.
People say invest in gold. My dad, I remember my dad like 10 years ago doing that.
Definitely a thing dads say.
During the recession, he was like, so.
You have some bars of gold in your closet, Kobe?
I didn't buy into it. What was I saying? No.
You bought stocks of Golden Guardians
in gold
because they were 10th and 10th, so they're more stocks.
So the way that the stocks were set, the prices coming into this year are from last year's performances. Yep. So they were valued the lowest because they're back-to-back 10th, right? However,
I think they were third lowest because
they got new players. They got new players. But they made on paper what everyone's is getting hyped about for big upgrades for players on individual basis, right?
True.
You know, Hansert, he's definitely good. Froggen, people want to be good and come back and, you know, have that form of dominance again. And Ole, right? So all of us on the analyst desk at least bought some stock. I believe I bought one. I originally had one, and then I changed it and I upped and I got 2. But Mark bought 4, whatever our units of stock.
And what was the max? Could you buy like 10? Could you buy 5?
11.
So what you could buy about 9. You could technically buy one of each, which is what Dash has, the index.
Right.
But none of us wanted to get a lot of the lower value ones, so a lot of us ended up with 9 and some change.
You can buy 11 Golden Guardians because when we were talking
or if you got all of the lowest price one, then you could do that. But Mark split 4 and 4 with TSM and Golden Guardians and then went in something else.
It's a rough week.
Yeah. But yeah, so Golden Guardians going 0-2 in the opener. I think a lot of people kind of had high hopes for this being like a revitalization for them because they had a bunch of new content that looked all good. They signed all these players that have pre-existing fans and, you know, pre-existing work to look back on that you can accredit. But it did not come together.
I mean, one of the most concerning things for me, you know, like the stock game, we were kind of trial running it before, right? And so you guys bought stocks for based on the first 2 weeks. Yeah. We were just talking in this.
I have the richest, by the way, after week 1.
There you go.
Best investor.
But you still lost money, right?
I have to ask.
You'll have to ask
after this last game.
So we were looking at it for week 1, and we were like, if we would do it for just week 1, what would you buy to see? Because we were trying to see, okay, would everyone just buy the same thing and it'd be boring? And I was like, well, I would buy 11 Golden Guardian stocks because I would spend all my money in Golden Guardians because based on what people were seeing them as, like, you know, a 5th place team or whatever, their elo, as you said, was really low. And then for me, I was looking at that as you like the elo like the discrepancy from where you think they should be, also like multiplied by some factor of how easy the schedule is or how hard the schedule is.
Yeah.
Their first week is so much easier than their next week, right? So like they went 0-2 on the week that was supposed to be free for this team. And now they're going to be going into, I believe it's C9
Cloud9 and 100
Thieves.
Thieves.
So it's like for, you know, like I wouldn't have bought that for week 2 because I would expect them to lose those teams even without having this bad week. So that is really concerning for this team because, you know, they just had their easy schedule and went 0-2. And it's one of the things that really stood out to me for the Golden Guardians losses was it felt like they like a lot of the teams that succeeded this week really prioritized hard engage, right? We saw a ton of Scion. We saw Camille Gallio be extremely successful. We saw Lissandra. We saw so much engage. FlyQuest, their one draft, Ezreal, and like they had Orin support, Scion, Camille Gallio, right? It's like everything was clear win conditions. Everything was clear ways to engage. And Golden Guardians was doing like split push Vladimir, right? And Haunter was doing fine. He was doing well in his lane, but you know, the team was falling apart when he would be in a side lane, the other squad would get engaged on and die, or he would get collapsed on and they wouldn't be in position to do it. And it felt like they were trying to run a more complex like strategy, like 1-3-1 and split push styles are just harder to run. You have to be better coordinated. You have to be on the same page. And it didn't feel like they were up to the task. And I felt similarly about both their games where they were not running something that was very cut and dry, very like simple to execute on. And they were not up to the challenge of running like a more complex strategy. And I think a lot of these teams were extremely intelligent, especially early on in the season, to be going with things that are more straightforward, where your team has an extremely clear win condition. I think that's something that Golden Guardians seem to kind of have missed the boat on.
Yeah, I mean, hard engage is good, I think, and Golden Guardians was trying to outplay it, just didn't work out for them. I do wonder, like, we have all these talks about everyone on Golden Guardians having something to prove, right? Ole's something to prove. Haunter has something to prove because TSM wasn't going to give him a starting spot. Contracts, definitely 10th place team, something to prove. Froggen, like, how long, like, especially after this week, there's the chance that they go 0-2 again, right? Because next week they play C9 and 100 Thieves. So very real chance they're 0-4. Like, when does something to prove we're all actually good change to people turning on each other? Because, no, seriously, or the team turning on it, because all these players were either discarded from other teams or on the 10th place team, right? Like, I don't want that to happen, but this first week was extremely concerning for me as far as overreactions. You're not going to call them, you know, dead on arrival after week 1. But as Azel said, this was the easy schedule with what looked like one of the most motivated, positive teams. So it's kind of hard for me to say like, oh, they just didn't have enough practice time or they were just surprised by something. There's a chance they're in for another tough split.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about like, you know, them turning on each other or whatever, but I definitely agree. Like from everything that we had heard, atmosphere was amazing, right?
Yeah, I'd rather say the fans turning on them because
totally,
I feel like they're going to have something to prove the whole split.
The fans are coming off at 10-10. How can they?
Because they expect more. They have expectations for first.
How dare you get my hopes up with these signings? And,
so yeah, I do think it's easy to fall back into the like, you know, that routine of like, well, we're shit again, right? You know what I mean? Like you, where you are feeling down and you lose the motivation and stuff. That I think can really happen to some of the teams that I think are doing poorly. So hopefully they do not become like afflicted by that if they have a rough second week. Because I still think this team is a team that has a lot of potential. But I mean, we talked about there were some stats from this last weekend. It was like only a handful of teams. I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it was like in the ballpark of 3 or 4 teams had ever made playoffs after starting 0-2. I think only maybe one team had ever made playoffs after starting 0-4. And I think that was maybe Cloud9 from last split. I could be misremembering that exactly, but like very, very few teams, if any, have actually made playoffs after starting 0-4. So Golden Guardians would be in for a pretty tough run of it if they do end up losing as expected.
You made me think of that meme. Oh no, we suck again! as soon as you said that, that's all I could picture when your whole thing. I blacked out the rest of what you were talking about. I just imagined Azael doing the oh no.
All right, well, 100 Thieves, another team. Are they saying the same thing, Kobe? Or well, they didn't suck before, so
kind of. So here's the thing with 100 100 Thieves. They had, to me, when I was looking over all of the schedules for the stock market game, I was like, ooh, 100 Thieves is good value because they have lower ELO. I think they're better than that. But I think they had the hardest schedule for the early game. And I think even continuing, it doesn't get a lot easier.
Okay.
Let's see.
100 Thieves plays TL
next?
right off the bat, and then Golden Guardians.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
People are
it is
expecting
easier
them to be 0-3 after TL,
yeah.
probably.
Yeah. But so I that's why I didn't put any stock in there, because I was like, oh, these are going to be some super hard matchups for them. But then after seeing week one, Someday definitely performed below expectations. He had a really off couple of games there for him. And oh man, Niski just dismantled him, and then he had the tilter teleport.
Had a rough go at it.
He had a lot of things going wrong.
They're definitely going to need to have some strong coaching for this week to kind of recover and have a good mindset to go into next week. Because the opening week had a lot of errors.
I will say that 100 Thieves during summer split was constantly the team that I'd watch them play and be like, these guys are terrible. And then they'd go 2-0 the next week. Like, they were the most, hey, they've lost this, they had this terrible loss, and then they'd beat TL. And then they'd beat the next team. So because of the schedule and because of Someday, Bang, Aphromoo, like Prawley, all the people on that team, I feel like they're fine. I don't think they're going to be an elite team, right? I don't think they're going to be top 2, but I think they're going to be upper playoff still. Is basically my read. He is the big question mark off of week one, but they made it through a year with Ryu not playing amazingly, and we're still a high tier team. So I think they'll be able to come together.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bang was the bright spot for me though. Like, even though he didn't get to do a lot, when I was watching his play and the Lucian game and the Kaisa game as well, he always seemed to be positioning really well. Like, it seemed like he was doing everything well. It's just the map collapsed completely around him, and there's very little you can do when that happens from so far behind. But yeah, I mean, Someday I would also say that was very concerning for me because, a lot of people are going to point to Huhi. I think he had the worst performance on the team, certainly. But Someday we have such high expectations for. He was considered by many to be the best top laner in the league last year, or at least up there. And if he is not going to be performing to that level, then the team can just be made that much weaker regardless of if Bang is an upgrade or not, right? So it's definitely interesting. And I mean, I think back to a lot of last year, like you were saying, Jet, where they definitely had games that didn't look good, but they always seemed to be able to kind of like hang around, get to late game, and win team fights, right? And if you're playing this style, this is something I was thinking about specifically 400 Thieves, is I think that style of play is much harder to pull off in the 2019 season because there is so much more gold on the map in the early game. You can't afford, I think, to be bad at laning, to give up these advantages, because those advantages are not as small as they used to be. Because turret plating is in the game, if you are losing turret plates across the map, if you are losing early dragons, which give gold now as well, all these advantages, as well as the early dragons being stronger than they used to be, it becomes so much that I think it's so much easier to just snowball the game out of control. So I just think that their playstyle, and yes, they have changed players and maybe they won't default to that playstyle, but that playstyle is just plain worse this year. And I don't think you can really pull it off in the same way, because that 4K gold lead is maybe a 6K or a 7K gold lead. And those dragon stats are going to be that much more powerful. And then great, you take that one team fight, but at that point, you're just too far down, and it doesn't matter how well you play it.
And a lot of the kind of old guard Korean teams had this kind of similar sentiments about why they weren't succeeding as much, at Worlds and this year as well, because the game has been intentionally sped up a bit. There's also the minion pushing advantage. If your team has the level advantage and, towers taken, then they're going to be easier to end it out. Now the Baron and Elder Dragons respawn quicker as well.
And you can only carry 2 control wards, right? The reduction in vision overall.
But I do think, at least for 100 Thieves, on their opening, difficult schedule here, if you're going to get some unforced errors out of your system, I guess, on the stage, that's the game to do it against. So I feel like that was the low end for Someday. And there's a reason why we're like, wow, that's an underperformance. It's because we still think that he'll be able to have, better ones. So I definitely agree with Jack. Just week one, definitely can perform much better.
Week 2 also, we're going to be moving on to patch 9.2. which
Oh,
will
baby.
Switch things up a little
The
bit.
jungle nerf.
Okay, you want to talk about the jungle nerf? I want to talk about some of the stuff Korea did last night on patch 9.2.
Go ahead.
There's definitely some clarifications that I think need to be made. AP Jarvan's support got played by Spirit twice last night, and they 2-0'd actually.
That it did.
They were victorious.
That it did.
So, yeah, what do you guys think about AP Jarvan support, Azael?
So I
know
played
you
a
had
game
some
with
thoughts.
this yesterday before the LCK games happened, and I literally just thought this guy was like into me, and like I didn't really say like I get the idea. Like I saw it, I went into the game, I saw Jarvan support. I was like, okay, he's just gonna play, you know, like regular all-in AD Jarvan support, whatever. But he did do flag max. He was carry, so I assumed, you know, okay, he starts Belthief. So I'm like, okay, well, there's AP scaling on the E. You just poke with the E. I get that. I didn't see the LCK game, so I can't really comment on how it played out there. But I did at least understand some of the ideas behind it, that you have some poke in lane and then you're a semi-reliable engage. I will say it worked very horribly in the game that the guy played it. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that this guy maybe didn't know what he was doing. But you know, it is at least interesting. And you know, we were talking about this, like the Airy interaction. Like I was getting shielded, I guess, from. I wasn't sure if it was from like you know, the W slow triggering like the heal on hit, or you were saying there's an interaction with the E, like
I would need to test
speed that can shield you, because I was getting random shields.
Yeah, I saw a comment that the attack speed bonus from the flag is enough to give you the Airy proc, basically, that then shields you. And it's a very high base damage spell that's fairly long range and fairly spammable. So I could see you be able to poke people out with the AP Jarvan. I feel like it needs a lot more testing. And the fact that it got played in LCK normally makes you think like this thing is definitely legit. But this is also the team with Spirit, who's just, he's played 3 Morgana games, an Annie game, a Nico game, a Karthus game, a Nocturne game, and 2 support Jarvan games. That's been his year in different positions. So, like, this is definitely not your standard LCK, only play the busted stuff. But at least it's exciting. I like seeing weird new stuff like that.
I mean, Spirit was also, last year, he was doing the Lulu jungle, and everyone was like, oh my God, that's so busted, so crazy. But it never, like, took over solo queue. So, I mean, people should be a little bit worried, but yeah, I don't think you have to be super.
And it could just be very matchup specific. I don't know what he actually played against, but like we were laning against the Soraka, so like he's eating the AD, and then
that's not gonna work.
It doesn't do anything, right? The Soraka's just healing him up, and then the Soraka went silence max, and it's just like doing way more damage with the silence than he can do with the flag. I'm like, okay, this is terrible.
Yeah, maybe you got a bad apple then.
Maybe got a bad apple. I'll have to see if I ever get a good apple of AP Jarvan. I really doubt it.
Next time you have Spirit on your team.
Maybe I can get Spirit to queue up with me. He can show me how it's supposed to go.
All right, the jungle experience nerfs have come upon us.
You've been playing with them for a week. Yeah, the whole week plus a solo.
You can definitely feel them. So it's not like you are completely starved and you can't function as a champion. And we're back to the farm 5 hearts of gold, stages of the game or whatever. But it is definitely significant, right? I feel like, especially as it gets later, because the changes are, the experience is gonna update every other level now. And plus 25% instead of plus 50%. So as the game gets longer and longer, I've been altering how I think about the value of me going to a camp first and then going to a lane or going to a play or going to my team. And now I'm more willing to give up my, forego my camp and go support a possible, aggressive looking lane that's going over here, or I think that my team is going to int in the dragon pit, and so I gotta go join them.
Go join up.
Camaraderie,
for that little fiasco. It's kind of interesting because while you are definitely lower level for the majority of the game, the early game is still pretty much the same. Feels about fine. You can have a really strong early influence, but it does as you past level 6 and stuff, as you really start to get these respawns going, it does feel very, very difficult to keep up with solo laners. The only time I've been like even levels of solo laners is when I'm really getting a lot of kills and a lot of it is through successful ganks and not not actually farming that much. So it's definitely a change. Whereas previous last season, if I was doing something like that, I would also be highest level in the entire game, not just tied with solo laners, because I could also insta farm camps because you would be so ahead, you'd have a lot of damage, and then you do that and getting kills. So yeah, I've started just playing Nunu, Ivern, Sejuani. Jarvan is the one aggressive pick that I've
go
using.
AP with it.
I'm not using AP. Don't
starting
worry.
Stealthy?
Don't worry. I'm not doing AP Jarvan. I think that regular Jarvan, AD Jarvan,
he's good.
I'm going AD into supportive tanky stuff like Knight's Vow and stuff
so you
like
do
that.
Warrior into Vow?
I just go Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Warrior to me is enough to get the early oomph out of being an aggressive jungler.
You're going electrocute still?
Yeah, still go Electrocute because that makes all of your ganks. But after Warrior, then I transition into stuff like Knight's Vow. Sometimes I get Asterix later on, stuff like that. And that seems to be working pretty well. You're just, I'm not looking to be the point man for killing people anymore.
Yeah.
I'm trying to set up my teammates. And when you're in promos, you're in promotional or provisional. There we go. The placement matches, that's a real roll of the dice. So it's feeling...
And those games are worth so much now.
Yeah, I'm trying to communicate
So I
a
feel
lot.
like they've always been worth that much.
I
The
know,
information's
but-
just been hidden from you.
So I like that I can see it, but I will say, so I'm doing my placements or whatever, right? And I'm in Plat 1 or whatever now. And I know if I win 2 of my next 3 games for my last ones, then I will start in Diamond, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, God, do I want to skip, not have to deal with Diamond promos, skip the 5-game pro. That feels so good. So it's like, if I lose one of those games that I don't need to, it's going to feel so frustrating because it's not going to feel like losing one game. You're not only losing the 50 or whatever LP, the big LP gains you get, you're having to go through a 5-game promo series. So I'm like, you just lost me 8 games. That's a lot.
I will say, actually, this might be, I know it's a mixed opinion. I like the new placement system a lot more than the old one.
I think it's better, but I still care. I'm still going to be frustrated if I lose.
Yeah.
They obviously a placement system where you're not frustrated if you lose.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not a good system.
We have removed placements. Now you're no longer frustrated when you lose
Everyone
placements.
placed challenger. Everyone feels great.
Yay! And then
First
you can be
person
iron
queue up gets
challenger
challenged.
and bronze challenger and gold challenger.
Like
Challenger 17. So the jungle thing's really interesting to me, Kobe, because I do feel like that it has probably been an OP role for a while. If I just think about just the fact that it's become an expectation that the jungler is able to keep up with solo lanes relatively normally when they're a position that gets to choose where they go. And also because I don't like playing high damage junglers personally, it's probably more okay for this to feel right to me. Because they're still going to be super strong early and they're still going to have a large game influence. And the gold didn't change, which I think changes decision making around jungle camps as well.
Yeah. So I would say that jungler definitely has been one of the more powerful, but I definitely would not say OP.
You think
mid laners have
mid is the most powerful?
I think mid laners, I can't remember a time.
Are we talking solo queue or pro?
Solo queue.
We're talking solo queue right now.
Yeah.
I think mid laners have been extremely powerful as well. And to me, it's a lot of similar reasons. One has been because, of course, it's a solo lane. They can get a lot of experience. But also, mid lane is very well positioned to also roam around. So you have a lot of these freedoms that top lane doesn't necessarily have with all the TP nerfs and stuff like that. And a good mid laner also does translate to jungle control. So I feel like mid lane and jungle are constantly linked in terms of power because they do rely on each other, and a lot of the objectives kind of play off of both of those. But yeah, I mean, there definitely have been times of fluctuating. Oh my God, we have to camp bottom because AD carries are so strong. We have to play around them, or oh my God, AD carries. What a joke. And it's definitely been a roller coaster for those ones. But consistently, I think jungle and mid have been very strong.
It's interesting because I play a lot of different roles. So I've never really been bothered by jungle. I like jungling. I've never really bothered by it when I'm playing the other lanes as much. But I do see a tremendous amount of complaining about, people would always complain about red smite junglers being able to 1v1 them. And
people complain about every aspect of junglers if they're not junglers.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I'm going to put that out there.
Again, I'm not even saying I think that that they needed some big nerf or whatever. But that is one of the things that I just in general see the most complaints about in my games. And when I'm watching pro streams and challenger streams, people hated that they could get 1v1 as a soul laner by red smite jungler. So I do understand like that thought process where it's like, okay, you know, if a jungler just has to farm his side of the jungle and then show up and he's stronger than you in the solo lane, then it's like that's always a guaranteed, or feels much more guaranteed to be able to do that than it does, you know, to be able to lane, you know, where you might be in a tough matchup or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, you know, that getting that like XP getting nerfed just feels like it does push people more to supportive style junglers and tank style junglers, which have not really been much in the meta at all. There's like one tank in the meta right now, and it's Sion. So maybe that
Sejuani kind of in the jungle.
Yeah, and I guess we've seen maybe. Like,
I would say Nunu is a tank as well, so, and Nunu is definitely good. Actually, Nunu has the highest win rate right
There's
now.
like a solo queue thing, but then there's also how will it actually influence pro? Because I think some of the biggest cases in solo queue were literally the junglers that would be like 200 CS at 18 minutes because not only do they power farm the jungle and get red smite, they then take lanes. And then like that scenario almost never happened in pro. Yeah. Right? So now I'll be curious to see if like
even changes
the Camille is exactly the same execution. It's just she's half a level lower or something like that.
Yeah, because they still have to play around vision very heavily. They still have to be waiting and covering their laner as they're pushing in and waiting for counter ganks and doing all those things. So they were never really like the pure hard farm style.
I think it affects solo queue more than pro, but it will still affect pro.
Yeah.
Also, here's an idea. Whenever people complain to me about oh, jungle's broken because, you know, look, you know, all these high rated, you know, top 5 or whatever people, 4 of them are junglers or something like that. To me, jungle is the role that can have the most variance. So that means that if you are a very good jungler, it's a very big difference between a baseline jungler on the enemy team. Whereas if you're a laner and you're a very good laner versus a baseline laner on the enemy team, it's not going to be as big of a discrepancy because the jungler, the very good one, is going to affect so many different areas of the map that the role itself might not be overpowered. The difference between a good person in that role and a baseline person in that role might be bigger. That's a theory. It's mull that over for a while and get back to me on that.
I agree in principle. I think there's going to be some exceptions as there are to every rule. Because I think if it's like I'm your average or a bad top laner and I'm playing against a really good top laner and I pick Sion, then I'm like, okay, yeah, like the difference isn't going to be as big. But if I'm like, all right, I'm playing against Challenger Riven one trick, Yasuo, right? You know, and then it's like, I'm going to be 0-10 and he's going to take the whole map.
But
my point is,
that's going to be all you. The other 4 people won't experience that dude until like 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah,
is that true though? Or can they not roam around, right?
They do, but it's just slower than the jungle.
And my point is that you cannot do that in the jungle. I can't say, oh, you know, I'm just going to play Nunu, maybe the Sion of jungle, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm just
going
to pick Nunu or... okay, I think Ivern is way different. I think you're super underestimating Ivern. But if Nunu or
as far as base level of contribution, right?
I
think Ivern's base level of contribution is fairly high.
All right, I'm gonna go with Sejuani and Nunu, but it's not the same, right? If you pick Sejuani or Nunu, right, the super good jungler, it is going to really take advantage. I think in a way that the lane Sion doesn't get taken advantage of as much.
Yeah. All right, guys, want to move on?
Yeah. The one other thing I will touch on the patch, have you guys played against or seen much York? Because I think New York is actually cheap and should be played in pro. Because the new ultimate, you have so much control over it. Like one of the biggest problems with York was, especially like in earlier stages, you essentially couldn't fight people at all without your ultimate. And when they force you to pop your ultimate just march down the lane and then suicides the turret. They wait till it dies and then they kill you. And then you're zoned out or whatever, right? Now you can actually leash your ultimate off the turret and just walk back as it gets to the turret and just be laning with your ultimate until they actually kill that thing. And it's
got a lot of health.
It has a lot of health. It's actually,
and it does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Too.
So if you're actually being smart about how you're using your ultimate and not allowing them to fight it near the turret where you can't actually fight back, it is hard to kill. And that thing does a lot of damage. So it's like, a lot of his weaknesses have been mitigated from that, because you can drag that thing around. You can still throw it down a side wave like a banner minion by reactivating it, but you can have the ultimate popped, and then your jungler needs help in the river. Now all of a sudden your ultimate is coming into the river with you with the goals, and you're gonna fight, and you're gonna be at full power there. So like even his team fighting is so much better than it used to be, because you can split push and bring the ultimate with you to that Dragonflight or to that Rift Herald or to whatever.
I have a question then. Is
Okay.
it time to bring back Jungle Yorick?
Maybe.
There was an Oceanic player that was a Jungle Yorick one trick, and I copied him. It was like a year ago,
Try it out.
and it was actually really strong.
I think. I mean, if it was strong then, he's just playing better now. Like the
Okay.
ultimate has more health. The AI is better. This thing can follow you around. You can choose to release it.
If
or
I'll have
whatever.
less experience, at least I'll have my ultimate here,
Yeah.
and my ultimate can go fight people. I'll be like a Pokemon master.
Exactly.
And the best thing about Yorick is that a lot of people still don't know what he does.
They don't understand.
Yeah.
it at all.
So, like, if you learn how to use Yorick, boom, just instant advantage.
Yeah. I mean, we saw a tiny bit of it from Optic last year in LCS.
Yeah.
I think it should legitimately be being used in Pro. I think it can really destroy.
Oh,
some
go leave a
matchups.
note on the CLG Reddit.
Yeah, could be a good pick for Darshan.
Maybe they're watching. Maybe someone else can tell them. But I'd be excited to see if it comes out, because I think it's actually good now for the legit good pick.
All right, time to move on.
All right.
Actually have some very big news that we haven't talked about yet because we didn't want to spoil the rest of the episode and didn't want to take attention away from the show. Some people noticed that I wasn't on LCS last week.
Yeah, I noticed.
Kobe noticed
too.
he was on Countdown, and the reason for that, actually, I want to tell a story first. Actually, when I joined Riot in 2012, I joined it as a QA analyst on the live design team because that was my way in to potentially one day becoming a game designer. Is what I kind of had in my head of what I really wanted to do at Riot. But then I'd done a little bit of casting before joining Riot. Esports started spooling up, and there was this like massive opportunity to be a shoutcaster. Since I was a former pro player, I was relatively articulate, and I was like perfectly positioned to be the color caster for like esports, basically. Fast forward 7 years, I feel like we have a ton of good color casters now. Got 2 other ones right here that we do the dive with. It's really good. And I realized that I still really wanted to do game design. So you guys have known about this, so you can fake your shock faces, but it's new information for the public. But I'm actually going to be joining the Summoner's Rift team, aka like the live balance team, and be a game designer on League of Legends. Yeah. It's like super big news. It's like I'm super excited to do it, and also super sad to be no longer full time on esports. And yeah, let's have like a quick conversation about it.
It's actually crazy because you say we knew about it.
We found out last week.
Yeah, I've only known about it for about a week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Was it?
It's the break. And
Time really flies. Okay, but
I thought it was just last week. Yeah.
It was such a shocking thing to hear.
yeah,
Because, like you say, we've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
I moved down to Los Angeles in 2013 to join you.
Yeah.
And
you were the first color caster that had like actually been a pro player other than me. And we were like, we're the 2 color casters on
and
LCS.
up until that point, I was doing like online TSM tournaments and stuff. But Riot invited me down here, like on this like contract, maybe tryout basis or whatever. And Jat and Riv were the ones that welcomed me in 2013 when we created the LCS.
Yeah.
Like we've been doing this for so freaking long, and for 6 years, it feels like the majority of my adult life.
Yeah.
I have spent the majority of my weeks with you, whether it's weekend or weekday. Like so much of my time has been working with Jat, and like we've created, different ways of doing color casting so we could get, the widest possible audience. And we've come so long ever since I was told that this was happening. I was looking back at like old pictures and stuff, and we had 2 different color shirts each for all of the casters, and it was just a matter of which one you're wearing that day or whatever. We had like baby Reginald and Hotshot in the studio, and it just when I first heard about it, it just seems like things are going to be so different. it does feel like a very big change for me. To not have
And you're
Jack
still
there.
casting.
I mean, yeah, exactly.
I'm starting like
I'm
a new
still
career
casting.
in game
I feel
design.
like I'm breaking up my longest relationship I've ever had.
Yeah.
We've traveled the world
We
together.
have traveled the world, dude. It's been like 7+ years.
It's definitely crazy. I mean, we found out at the same time, right?
Yeah.
We got told, and we're both immediately like, A, what the fuck? B, like, like, what does this mean? And we're like, our brain starts spinning. It's like, what is, what's next? What changes? What happens? Like, it's crazy for you, but it's it's crazy for the other casters. It's crazy for the scene, I think. You've had a big impact on our lives. Obviously, we're friends. We've spent a lot of time together. I haven't been on the team casting as long, but I mean, I've been casting with you for 3 years now.
At this point, you've already been here like 3 or 4 years, right?
And watched LCS for years before that, and it's been really cool. Like, you guys were my 2 favorite casters watching LCS, and then
All right.
and getting to work with you guys and learn from you guys has been like a really special experience. And getting to do the dive with you guys. We're like, God knows how many episodes in, 60, 70, something like that. We've been doing this for a long time. So, I mean, it's crazy. Like, on one hand, I'm like, I wish you the best. On the other hand, I'm like, fuck you, you should stay. So it's, I mean, it's been a pleasure, but definitely feels pretty surreal.
Yeah. And I know that you have wanted to do this for a long time.
Exactly.
You're going to have weekends now.
I mean, that's one thing to watch LCS with.
So that, there you go.
Instead of work
That's why
LCS
he's not
literally
making guest
all the time.
appearances.
Yeah. I mean, I'll still like occasionally make guest appearances on the dive or this or that, or potentially on broadcast. I mean, as far as like what I'll be doing, I will be on the balance team for game design. So I'll still be able to like touch the game and be around League. At first, like very small scale stuff, because I haven't actually learned any of the tools and like got to train up and like get better. And all that stuff is super exciting, because even before I played League of Legends, I had a big interest in game design. Like when I played Guild Wars, I was just like fascinated with the way you balance that game or the tuning of the game. And there's just so much more to game design beyond just numbers, as far as the way a kit works and the way mechanics work and the way that works with thematics and the way that works with perception, and like so much really cool stuff that I'm super excited to dive into. It's like, I feel super spoiled in the fact that I actually had the option to have a kick-ass job as a shoutcaster for 7 years, where you get to talk about a video game for a living and have people be like, you said cool stuff about that video game, and be like, thanks, man. Like, that's just amazing. And now to be able to try something while still in the gaming sphere, like exercising completely different muscles, is something that's really exciting to me. And it's disappointing to leave shoutcasting, and like I'm sure it'll be disappointing in a bit of an adjustment period, but like you guys are still here. I thought High did a really good job week 1 on the desk. I know they have plans for Countdown down the road to keep the product fresh and keep a lot of new voices coming in. And there's so many more voices now than there was 7 years ago, which I think is really good, right? So I'm just really excited to kind of go try something like game design. It'll be super fun.
We are going to have some of those new voices on the dive moving forward as well.
The dive Jet may be dead, but the dive the dive is not.
So he's not dead yet, but if we don't enter the golden age of game balance,
oh my God,
from here moving forward,
remember,
I'm coming straight for you.
All right,
everyone knows who to flame on Twitter now, because his Twitter is no longer for shoutcasting; it's purely to receive negative feedback on his balance changes.
Yes, it's true.
That's what it's.
So I have done one change.
Oh,
yeah, and I've
Was
already
it the Jungle SP?
No, I've already seen like Reddit comments complaining about it, and I'll give reasoning now. Just may as well start communicating. So I nerfed Lysandra. I got to do that one. So it's basically targeted of looking. It was a very high elo or pro play focused nerf, and every mid lane champion on 9-1 with a higher presence than Lysandra was significantly nerfed. Like previously, all of them, like Galio, Aatrox, everything that was above it, and then also just thinking of like, do you really want Lysandra in every game, especially when there's not a huge amount of counterplay and there's not like a huge amount of skill expression. So you want to hit Lysandra a little bit. And the 2 nerfs that I did, I ended up taking 40 damage at max rank off of the E. So
Okay.
That's like a few
claw.
per level, but
combo,
it's actually fairly rarely used for damage.
Yeah.
And then increase the mana cost of Q by 8 at max rank, so very gradual. So pretty small nerfs.
Yeah.
And the reason for that was that Lyssandra's most of the time in pro play are either taking minion dematerializer or mana flow bans, so they're already speccing into mana a bit, but they're almost always able to go proto belt, and it doesn't feel like they're paying a very appropriate cost for doing proto belt since Lysandra succeeds or fails by like push and roaming, right? So slight mana cost, make it a little bit harder
pay
to put
for
in
it.
roam, or you build Ludens so you're allowed to do it, and then the E is just like this really high damage, I feel like long range wave clear tool that people use it for, because if you rank it up, the cooldown will still be the same. And like little chips in those two areas, hopefully make her like an acceptable presence and not just like the dominant mid laner. And if Aftershock gets nerfed, Lysandra gets buffed again for all those people that are worrying about it, because she's like super reliant on that keystone.
So we will judge you based on the Lysandra presence coming in
that
this
one
match.
on 9-3, because that's when the nerf
Okay,
hits.
9-3.
Yeah.
You get a soft pass for that one.
Yeah,
We'll
let you off the
All
hook
right.
for that, but yeah, I mean it's definitely crazy. Hopefully we're planning on having you back on the dive. For
Not
those
next week.
for those of you not next week, for those of you who are wondering
Yeah, we got a
what's going
surprise
to happen
next
with the
week.
show, we have some plans that the show is not going to be the same. We know it's not going to be the same. Jad is gonna leave a hole there, but we are planning some things that we think are going to be fantastic that you guys hopefully will really enjoy. And we're going to mix things up a bit, bring in some different people, and hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
What we're not going to try and do is replace Jat 1-to-1.
yeah.
We're going to bring in a lot of special guests. So we'll have more targeted discussions, I think.
Yeah, but anyway, we're gonna miss you a lot, man, and we do have a video.
I heard about this right before the show. I haven't seen it. At all.
We have not seen it either.
Yeah, we haven't
our
seen it.
our wonderful production team did cook it
Let's
up.
take a look.
So
Yeah.
we'll see if they can pull that up for us.
Check this out.
But we have a video.
Put that one, dude.
Look back on some
TSM Jet.
memories.
Wait, who's Jet though?
Who's Jet? Hello?
I don't know who Jet is. I know Rivington.
Let's start with number 1 then.
I'm in it. Let's go.
Josh Leisman, my in-game name's Jat, and I play jungle.
How many fingers can I cross right now? I got all of
I
my
got
hand
these two.
crossed. Can you do your pinkies?
No, almost.
Really?
A little bit.
Would you rather eat chocolate flavored or poop flavored chocolate?
Oh!
Chocolate flavored poop.
Yeah!
It's
chocolate
basically
flavored
chocolate
poop.
syrup.
100%.
But if you're trying to climb in solo queue, find the best path, do the same gank every game, and you'll get good at it.
And that does it for an insane day 2 of the 2013 NA LCS Summer Promotion Tournament.
Jet, you look great today. We have the matter of the bet to settle here and take a spin.
What? I'm just sleeping. Who made this slide? Where'd you get that picture?
Yeah,
right? We can still. I'm Riv, and for Kobe, Freak, and the entire live broadcast crew, I'm not Riv. Tomorrow's Mother's Day, by the way.
We have to note that we lost the dive
We don't have to
for
know
you,
that.
and we will make good on it.
Take it from me. Don't miss out on this deal.
We're done now.
Over. Are you stupid?
Anyway, I did not forget about this. Let it be said,
Slow down, Jack.
Flaky,
You better be happy about this because
You look good.
I did actually win the bet, I would have to say. Thank you for joining us for This or That with Kobe and Jet.
We'll get it.
Thanks, Riv.
I just want to say I will be starting the stream soon for people who want to see a jungler other than St. Fish's stream. I think I bring a lot of different things to the table, and hopefully it'll be a good time.
Oh my goodness. I will be starting the stream soon, by the way. Yeah,
Start
8,
stream soon.
7 years ago. Oh man, PTL as well.
Yeah, it
we did that
reminded
show
me-
for years.
Yeah, it reminded me of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that's
We-
where This or That started, by the way, on PTL.
Yeah, we used to have a lot of like special little segments on that too, like dressing up. We had like dartboard things and
We had like what was that one where we had to like buzz each other and have like 30 seconds?
Oh yeah,
That was a hard one to do. I don't know about that.
our little league game show kind of.
Yeah.
Man, there were a lot of moments in there that I didn't like have in my mind as like, oh, this is going to be in the video. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. Jet said he was Riv. That was like our first year.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was when I sucked at prompter. So I want to tell the story on this because this kind of gives you an example of how far we've come. So our old studio, we had an interview lounge, the desk, and a telestrator. And only 2 people at the desk, and we only had 4 casters. But for the most part, like, you'd only have 2 casters on at the time, and then like maybe someone would come in an interview, maybe someone would come in for a telestrator. Yeah. So the way this one worked is you had Kobe and Riv casting. After the game, Riv does an interview, and I'm supposed to do a telestrator segment. The telestrator breaks while they're doing the interview. So in order to end the show, they're like, we can't just go to a single shot of Kobe on the desk. Jack, get over there, go sit in Riv's chair, and close out the show. And the writer, bless him, like tried to switch everything from Riv to Jat. So like every slug in the prompter would switch, but he missed that one. He missed the I'm Riv at the very end. So it lulled me into this sense of security reading the prompter that everything had been corrected as I was closing out the show until the very last line.
Level stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it trolled me so hard.
It was so perfect. And Anchorman was around that time too.
Yeah, exactly.
So those were all the memes.
That's hilarious. That's actually so much better than what. So like, I didn't know that story. Watching it, I just thought you were just trolling and just pretending like doing the Riv like throw off or whatever.
That's because that's what it said. And they used to say like I'm Riv and for blah 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 blah. Yeah. Now they just say like, and thanks to the whole broadcast crew, because it was like if you named every talent every time, it would be like thanks to Azael, Kobe, Jat, Freak, Ovally, Mark Z,
Irene.
Like it's
It was funny because right after that one, I think was the one where like someone threw it to me at the telestrator too with the wrong name or whatever.
Yeah, and you're like,
who is it? Yeah.
Oh, it's man. Kobe. It's me. Yeah.
We had a lot of like funny hiccups during the first year because no one knew what they were doing, right?
Esports were janky back then.
Right? It was like, all right, we gotta make a league. Call it the LCS,
League of Legends Legendary League.
And I was like, I don't like my desk job. Can I please come down there and join? Engineering's kind of fun, but I'd rather play.
And back then, so many of the people like had no experience ever doing it, right? The first time I ever cast anything was at BlizzCon, which when I think back was ridiculous. I'm like, how did they let me do that job?
Yeah. My first cast was actually, I was attending WCG as a player in 2011, and then like Joe and D-Man were the 2 WCG casters, and like Joe had to go do a different game, but they wanted to broadcast a 3rd place game, so D-Man was just like hanging out in the lobby with people, say, "Does anyone want to cast a game with me?" And I'm like, "Sure, I'll hop in." And we had one microphone in like a back room with a CRT monitor, and we just pass it back and forth throughout the game. And then he left like halfway through the series because he had to go cast another game, and I think we left Scar there, so it's interesting.
Do you remember some of the, so when we first started also, like we had to define what casting was going to be for League of Legends. Do you remember some of the exercises we did? The one that stuck in my mind the most is when Kim made us read Shakespeare just with our eyes on like a scrolling prompter. And then while we're reading that, tell a story to the person next to you. And then afterwards, the person next to you would have to like, or the person next to you was the one reading. They would have to then repeat your story. It was like a super simple story.
So I think you're mixing
up. I walked
up
my dog.
I think you're
I'm mixing up some of it.
Yeah, because we definitely did the Shakespeare in prompter to try and make it sound natural. But then the other one was you sit back to someone and you make up a story
while they're reading something.
No, both people do it at the same time. And then afterwards, you're supposed to tell them what each other's story is.
That was so hard.
To practice active listening, because a lot of times you're distracted on something and you still need to be able to be like, that's to prevent the classic caster like, "You're absolutely right, Riv," and just like carry on when you haven't been able to follow what they're saying.
Especially when people are starting, one of the things people get tripped up on so much is if someone talks in their ear from your producer talking to you or something like that. So, Kobe would be like, "Yeah, this dragon fight's really important." And someone's talking to me, like, someone will be talking in your ear. And when people aren't used to that, they're just like, deer in the headlights, don't know what they're saying, comes back, and your caster's just looking at you like you're supposed to say something, and you're just like,
"I just finished, dude."
Yeah.
I could have sworn there was one where like you're telling me a story while I was reading something, and then I had to repeat back at the end what your story was, and I would
maybe we mixed the games and I just forgot about it, or you dreamt it. Any merch
Okay.
you got?
Well, it was too hard, and I
Yeah.
couldn't even remember the game.
Yeah, Super Weeks, we were talking about beforehand. People forget Super Wednesday. That was the first time we did Super Weeks because NALCS used to be Thursday, Friday, the very first year. But they didn't have enough weeks for how many games they wanted to play because it was a quad round robin best of 1 with 8 teams. Anyway, it meant that once a year you did 20 games on a weekend instead of 8.
Yeah.
And they just decided to put 12 of them on Wednesday for what is the first time we did it. And we did 12 games. We only had 4 casters.
Yeah, it was insane, actually.
Yeah, it was rough. Anyway,
It's pretty crazy.
I'm sure there's times to reminisce and be nostalgic. It's not like I'm going anywhere far away.
Yeah.
Literally going across the street to the other office.
That's
That's pretty far. There's some people over there that
And how
have-
long that light takes?
Yeah.
Takes a long time.
I've really enjoyed doing this, and I love the fact that some of the things that I'm probably most proud of is even though casting is one thing and that's a massive team, I'm really proud of this show. I think the dive has been super cool to do with you guys. When we started it, we wanted it to be the show that we were able to control and have longer form conversations and get more of ideas out there. Because I know early on we felt almost restricted and I have to fit everything within the confines of the broadcast, and it would feel wrong to go on a 7-minute tangent about COG subreddit talking with Weldon. That would never fit in a broadcast, but it's a really fun conversation to have on the dive. So the fact that we've had this place for going on 3 years now is really cool.
My favorite part about the dive is it originally was Jat's idea, and he started coming to us to get us on board and talk it out, and then we kind of built it into being this type of show. And once we had built out that idea, and we were like, okay, now this is what it's going to be. Then we brought it to content team and producers and everyone.
What's this story,
What's the
Kobe?
dangerous story?
And here we are today.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yes, that's one of your favorite
All
memories.
live happily ever after.
And it just worked out.
So
They love the idea. And
Dad,
here we are today.
would you like to give
I
your
would say our current producer definitely loved the idea.
Yeah.
our current producer
Yes.
is fully behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Trey?
supported us. He's the wind beneath our wings.
Trey's always
Hey,
fighting for
Brian,
us.
Cassidy, the whole team that
It's-
helps work on the
But
show.
it's been a hell of a run. We started the show with the idea of we were always talking at our desks all day anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So do the same thing that we're doing at our desks and just slap a camera up, and it's been a hell of a ride. So you can
and
sign
repeat,
us off one
the
more
dive
time.
and this or that aren't going anywhere.
That's true.
I'm
They
just
will continue.
moving somewhere else. So that will do it. Thank you guys for this episode of The Dive. I'll be back for this or that if you watch it tomorrow as well. So that'll be kind of the last thing. That's done for this episode of The Dive and my time on the show. Thank you again for joining me. Flame me on Twitter as much as possible, at RiotJat. Also, I'm on Instagram. I'll be very communicative with all this stuff.
Make sure to
Love
follow him
flame.
to flame him though. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this show will be back next Wednesday. Also, make sure you're tuning into NALCS, or rather the LCS now. That'll start Saturday at 2 o'clock with Countdown at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. See you then.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Classic Legends, where we'll be highlighting games from North America's past, showcasing some of the most memorable matchups and historic performances from the pros. With Week 1 of the 2019 season fresh in our minds, we're recalling games from previous opening weekends in the LCS, starting with the first game of the 2014 season, Cloud9 versus TSM. Cloud9 were defending champions of the LCS after bursting onto the scene in the previous year, dethroning TSM at PAX Finals after an incredible 25-3 record in the regular season. This rematch would be the first NALCS game for TSM's new mid laner, a European prodigy named Bjergsen. Cloud9's high made sure Bjergsen would have a matchup he would never forget. Jat joined me on the call.
Is why Bjergsen was beating him
Well,
up
he went
so
to Vietnam
badly.
on vacation.
Yeah, he was on
Right.
vacation, and that's actually to be expected though, because Bjergsen came from the best, basically farming environment for mid players. European competition was so great for him.
That's true.
And talent breeds talent in that sense. Now that he's come to North America, I could learn a lot from him to start.
We'll see what they decide to focus on. I like Zken's point about the lanes for Cloud9, or for TSM being very strong right now. And we've always seen Cloud9 kind of match the 2v1 matchup with Sneaky and Lemon Nation not always being the one to carry the team.
Yeah.
So we'll see if TSM tries to force them into that.
Yeah, a lot of times Cloud9 liked to run Sneaky on 80 carries that brought utility.
Yeah.
Kind of the same way that Fnatic used to run with Pushu when he brought a lot of utility. But the 80 carry picks have definitely trended back towards the hyper carries as of now. We saw the Jinx have an absurd amount of success over in Europe. It was the most wins, actually, from any champion in that tournament was Jinx, even though she was only played
It's been a
like
while
9 times.
and where you thought the late game is going to be the 80s to carry through for the team. But the way they're playing right now, you're absolutely correct, especially with needing the supports like Leona to come out. A lot of peel needed from the supports. See Elise getting banned out in the end. Both Meteos and the odd one very top dog on Elise. But it's actually Vi that's first picked here.
Yeah,
within the
they
first
were
game.
fighting really heavily over the jungles there. You could see with the Shyvana, Olaf, and Elise bans, there weren't many junglers left for Cloud9. And since Meteos is one of the carries of Cloud9, which is unlike many of the other teams, it's extremely important for them to lock in that pick. You almost never see a Vi pick this early, or even a jungler, unless it's Elise. So this is really Cloud9 saying they care a lot about what Meteos has to play.
So does this mean that they don't have to completely revolve around Vi with the competition?
No, they're not going to completely revolve around Vi. It's just they want Meteos on something that he can carry with.
Well, that is his ideal situation. Meteos has always said only to enter the lane when he believes he is going to get a gank. So we'll see what his movement on Vi is. And quickly, one of the taste your choice pickups that has been there, Lucian and Annie coming in.
It's
Lucian
kind of funny.
Thresh usually, but
This is, if we think back to last year, this is only Annie's second appearance in the North American LCS. X Special was the one who played her first, but that was with Xin Zhao in the bottom lane. So definitely, even though it's been huge at Worlds with Tabe and in all of the preseason and promotion tournaments, somewhat new to the LCS, and now X Special's played it both times it's happened in the LCS.
let's have to see what Cloud9 decides to prioritize here. They're usually a team that wants things that does not let them fall behind early. That was really the thorn in their side, and any of their 3 losses they had was early game troubles.
A couple of them were from the terrible level 1s, and that's actually diminished now in the 2014 season, because First Bloods that happened very early on in the game only grants 60% gold to the opponent. I know everyone's probably familiar with these, but I'm just restating it because it's this whole brand new season.
And I'm with the brand new season, I'm super interested to see what these guys decide to play, because over in every other league, there's a lot of really different supports being played than in any other position. The supports are varying.
We got to see a lot of crazy stuff, especially if anyone checked out the European Challenger yesterday. We saw support Gragas. There was a support
Galio.
Malphite in the 3rd place game over in the OGN. And that's Odd One's Nunu coming back right there. Jungle Nunu. All the other junglers were pretty much gone for him. There wasn't even though Cloud9 banned a lot of junglers for the Odd One, there's still Nunu left, and he is completely comfortable playing that.
And the Nunu pickup isn't something we actually see a lot. It's here or there, but everybody plays it a little bit different towards the late game.
At least so far in the 2014 season, we've seen it mostly in OGN.
Right.
Because they like to play a very heavy disengage control focused game with the fast pushing and the vision control. That's what Odd One should be trying to do. They just got to make sure they have enough pick potential, which they're starting to develop with that Gragas. So they'll be trying to move around the map, get as much vision as possible, and then allow Bjergsen to make plays with his Gragas.
Pretty sweet setup from TSM so far. Trying to mix it up. Like I said, we're going to be seeing these new things, and we'll have to see how Odd1 decides to use Nunu, because, like we said, he likes that Elise. He likes those champions he can get in to help the lanes. Odd1 was always on the back of Reginald to be there to help him, and Nunu's really there for utility.
He's always been a pretty good counter jungler, too, as long as his lanes are having success.
Right.
Since they've picked Bjergsen's mid lane already, it'll also allow TSM to have the last pick for Dyrus and hopefully counter whatever balls brings out.
We'll have to see. He did bring out the Rumble once again for us over in the Boda. It's something that he has always been successful on, and really mentality for balls is something that always keeps him in the game. You can put him on any champion.
Listen. No.
Welcome to the North American LCS.
Wow. So I was going to say that's going to be a Teemo top lane, but they already have the Renekton as well. Because Teemo actually beats up on most of the current top laners in League of Legends. People just haven't started playing him because they don't think he transitions into team fights very well.
That was on the score sheet. You could see the sheet there being handed off to the ref saying, "We're done with this now, thank you."
We'll be fine with Teemo. Wow, so...
I thought the Nunu pick was going to be really the highlight here. No.
So the last time TSM was in a game with Teemo, it did not go well. They were playing against Gaming Gear EU at the World Playoffs, and that was Reginald's final game of his competitive career.
Haunting him back with that. They did get first blood.
They did get first blood.
Pulled out the hide and seek. We're going to have to see what's in the top lane here. I actually figured Renekton would be going to the team solo mid comp, but we see instantly they lock in that Nasus. A lot. Yeah.
A lot of stuff
just
a lot of stuff to
words.
think about. Will Hai actually just be playing mid lane Teemo or not? I mean, mid lane AP Teemo, he can try and get some vision control. Has he learned this from Bjergsen? I don't think so. I feel like this is something Hai has done all on his own. Oh, man. That was really unexpected.
Yeah. I think everybody can tell that about right now. This is going to be an amazing, and he actually is going to go flash barrier on this, so just super safety. Maybe
of course,
he's got Scout Roam.
People want to kill Teemo, so you better have barrier. I'm looking at Cloud9's team composition here, and especially early on, Teemo should be able to beat up on Gragas fairly well. Having the range advantage, and Teemo's just an absolute lane bully early on. So since they have the Caitlyn as well, they could definitely be going for the fast push and try and get down as many early turrets as possible, at which case Teemo would transition into a split pusher, more likely in the top lane, start shrooming up things, and Renekton would go with the rest of the team. That has to be what they have planned.
It already sounds annoying. They picked him, and I'm just ready for it. As the teams load onto the Rift, it's time to check out who you think will win this match. If you already voted already, I am sorry. According to LOL Esports, 58% of you think TSM will be taking home the first win of the spring split. And those came in before the Teemo pick. So.
That means 42% of people voted for Teemo.
Yes.
That is not good. Nope, seriously. That is...
It's going to be exciting. It's interesting to see. Obviously, it's a little gimmicky because I don't think this is something they're going to put into every strategy they run throughout this season. But if it works for them, then they have not shown anyone anything coming into Super Week.
No, this is not anything Cloud9 showed even a hint of against Fnatic in the Battle of the Atlantic. And they prepared heavily for that Battle of the Atlantic. Let's see how heavily they prepared for TSM.
All right, let's get the best of ones underway. That's the way the NALCS works. And we are going to see it be Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid. Not very much of a grudge match, a little rivalry here.
Oh, it's a rivalry. This is a developing rivalry. They're 1-2 in the standings at the end of the playoffs last season. Obviously, Cloud9 only had one split. They have kind of a lot of friendship between themselves, but that does not mean this is not going to turn into a fierce rivalry, because if they are the best teams of the NALCS, which they are favored to be here, they're going to play great games.
You heard Crepo. Doesn't matter who you are right now. People just want to win. Friend, foe, family, second cousins, doesn't matter.
Started with a Dorn's ring on Teemo, too. So you have to just pay attention to Teemo. You don't see him in pro play. He's not going mid lane, which makes actually a lot more sense for the greater context of this composition. What they've done with the Caitlyn is they put her mid because she is the best pusher. Spinning their guns.
That's class.
It's classy.
It's class right there.
Yeah. That's when the thresh hook comes from the fog of war and just finishes off Wild Turtle. But now they have 2 side laners in Renekton and Teemo. Bad manner. Ooh.
Wow.
-1 on sportsmanship right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll count. Lock it up.
That's like when boxers come in at the start of the ring and they hit
Just
gloves
punch
and
you
you
in the
gives them a
face.
quick jab in the face. That's what Sneaky just did.
Sneaky's not known to do that. Wow. The season changes people. All right, let's see what
Look
these
at
guys
how much
have.
they're roaming already. They're already doing a bit of a lane swap. So they have actually put high in the mid lane. Teemo can basically go anywhere he wants in this team composition, but they've decided to put him mid.
Yeah, they switch everything back up. Maybe they're just trying to play early mind games. It was red, and the wards are quite well placed by Cloud9, so they were able to move around the way they wanted to. We can get words out. It's the start.
And we haven't seen Balls play very much Renekton either. He was mainly just a Rumble player. He played Rumble in 4 of their 7 matches overall. And he doesn't care about the lane at the moment. He's just trying to farm those wolves, probably even go back to base and then go up because he's just going to be sitting in a 2v1 and getting heavily denied anyway.
I remember we always recall back to when Voyboy did this. It was about level 2.5. He said that you don't need to get there for those first 2 waves. You're just going to get poked out of lane. It's going to be harder anyways. So you're right. They are playing it completely safe, except for Meteos. He's trying to walk around and figure out where Dyrus was.
That was almost dangerous. He knows where Dyrus was now because he sees that the white is missing. Unless he thinks the odd one took the white, but almost no jungler will take the white very, very early on in the game. Really smooth counter jungling by TSM early on. This is basically securing them 3 of the 4 buffs because there's no conceivable way for Meteos to get to TSM's red.
And this is exactly what you do with Nunu. Get in there, nom a minion, and just ice blast and make your way out. Will they decide to actually go for the gank, though? This is taking quite a bit of time. They had a ward down at blue, and I think they'll have the safety, but they're just going to pressure them off.
Yeah, that's basically what the top laners are relegated to when they have to play in these 3v1 matchups. It's either that, just run away and get denied, or die.
They're denying more than they're really letting him run away. They're not even letting him get to the jungle, so they're keeping him completely out of situation there. Wild Turtle and Special, Odd1 look to take this turret quite fast, but they've already lost theirs, and they don't even have 50% on that. So Cloud9 definitely ahead in this push, and it's already going to call Dyrus back to lane.
Balls really did a sneaky thing there. He got a lot of experience by waiting in that tri-brush, more than Dyrus, and they're going to be ending up to trade turrets regardless. It's just a question of how much TSM wants to value denying experience versus taking tons of damage to their turrets here.
They don't have the strongest turret takers either. Whoa, a great catch on to Dyrus, pushing him even more out of lane. This is going to be a long, long game for Nasus.
See, I wonder how worth it that actually was. Yes, they guaranteed he was out of experience range, but they want to take that second turret down more than anything, and they spent all that time going for him. Can they finish off this turret? It's going to be, I don't think they can finish.
Yes, and I also think that it's good for them because TSM still hasn't grabbed that top turret. They're still denying Balls, but he'll have everything to farm once this falls.
Well, it seems like not much has changed so far at the start of the seasons. Remember in Season 3, everyone started doing the early dives, and at this point, they're just doing turrets.
Whoa!
Well then, he had been winning in farm, 28-20, but that was at the cost of taking a lot of harass for Bjergsen. 2 turrets down already for Cloud9. Now where do they go? They wanted to do that fast push strategy. That's why they have the Teemo. They're going to go mid next.
This is like watching old TSM when they would just huddle around your turret and wait for you to just slowly die off from getting poked out. But Cloud9 giving them a bit of their own medicine right now in that bottom lane. Already down to the inhibitor turret in under 5 minutes. Highs flash in mid coming up at around 10 minutes. So I'll have to see if they even try to start going for champions. That might be the first spot.
And there's actually been a lot of discussion lately because the next patch, there is damage reduction on the middle and top lane turrets, but not on the bottom lane turrets. And this is kind of our last patch in competitive to see when lane swapping and fast pushing is at its height, because I think a lot of that is going to be changed in future patches. What just happened? They just killed 2 turrets because they had 3 people down there. TSM didn't want to move back. I think we're not going to see this strategy too much throughout the rest of the LCS.
And you think you're also right about Teemo strategy and getting to be a split push later, not going with the regular chalice, as you would on Teemo, but going for the boots fast, trying to get that so he can get out of lane.
And also, with Sorcerer's Shoes early on Teemo because his toxic shot does so much magic damage.
Yeah.
Getting early magic penetration really rips through people, especially if he goes up against Renekton. Or no, he wouldn't go up against Renekton. Dyrus's Nasus,
Yep.
he would be able to harass him down very quickly.
And they have been able to find each other one time after another. Dyrus and Balls matched up now in the top lane. Not too much of a difference there. The CS is going to help, but Dyrus will get there in time since these guys aren't going to have too much of an impact on the overall game for a few more minutes.
But what's interesting here is because Balls was able to sneak so much of that experience in the Tri Brush, he's got a level advantage on Dyrus. So if we actually just take stock of who had the edge from all those early game shenanigans, it's absolutely Cloud9.
Yeah.
They got 2 turrets and the stronger top laner.
Well, one of the things that was said, as we mentioned by Z-Kent, was that TSM had very strong lanes right now, so this only helps Cloud9 to get through this phase into that fighting phase where hopefully they can put the team mechanics together with Meteos' ganks. 7 minutes on the clock. The odd one's just hovering on the outside of the left in mid. And it really hasn't proven too much other than that buff steal. They hugged a lot in the top lane, and it's kind of slowed down since then. Everybody was kind of like, yeah, this is what to do. Then what?
Yeah. Well, right now, Odd One has a Sightstone. That's what we see a lot of Nunos
Right.
do before Spirit Stone. He's going to try and get vision control for his team and maybe stop some of the Cloud9 rotations and stop them from being able to roam to and from lanes. It doesn't appear like High is ready to start being the split lane pusher because he wants, honestly, level 11, 12, 13 before he really starts becoming that super annoying, make a bunch of lights in your jungle type Teemo.
Right.
And at this point, TSM's trying to stop that from being a thing.
And they're actually using Nunu quite well. Being, like with Lee Sin, one of the junglers you can build Sightstone on now and still be okay with it and not lose out in really your tankiness is they have pretty much everything warded towards the bottom and the top side of the map. Already pink wards towards the top side of their own red. So vision is there's something they're putting in high priority right now.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's because TSM is putting down so many wards that Cloud9 isn't deciding to roam back and forth, or whether Cloud9 just wants to make sure they keep their turret edge. With Sneaky and Lemonation just now deciding to lane with Wild Turtleneck Special, it kind of seems like they're accepting their early advantage in turrets and then just trying to farm out a little bit instead of trying to roam around and extend that turret advantage.
Well, that actually, if you think about it, works quite well for Sneaky and Lemon. We kind of said they have the weaker lane, so if you get rid of their lane instantly and they farm in a safe spot with wards all around them, then they're not really going to have trouble. These guys are kind of circumventing a lot of the problems they had in the early game with these movements.
And as far as jungle ganks go, too, Meteos hasn't been able to get much
Yeah, that's true.
It's just what happens in these games where they take 1 or 2 turrets very early on in the game. It just confuses the routes for the jungle because those really long lanes are seldom gankable. And Meteos takes a white as far as counter jungling, and now he's trying to come up behind.
High keeps taking hits in mid. The barrier's not there. The flash is about 40 seconds off, but he's going to be able to make it out quite safe.
Bjergsen's starting to do a whole bunch of damage to High. High's going to want to get some magic resistance probably pretty soon. He's actually putting a lot of mushrooms around the dragon area. Maybe they're going to try and get control of that soon, but he has to go back to base. Otherwise, Bjergsen will kill him.
Well, with him backing, it looks like they actually may... Oh, they have a ward on him, so they're not going to get there in any sort of sneaky way, if you will. But with him backing, I like the idea of going to clear it and make sure it wasn't going to be an advantage for Team Solo Mid. And if they had the chance, it was going to be theirs. 10 minutes on the clock now. Still haven't seen too much from these guys in the top lane. Balls is managing to keep that level advantage plus CS advantage in his favor. Looks like he's just going for the orthodox build for himself.
I think Balls needs to do more against Dyrus' Nasus. He had a 2-level advantage on him earlier on, level 5 to level 3. He needs to be either farming between Dyrus' turret, counter jungling, or doing something other than just wasting Nasus' time up here. Dyrus is still farming at the turret, and now he's even equal in level. Ball's not taking advantage of his advantage right now, and he's letting Dyrus back in.
I almost feel like it's going to be tough for Cloud9 to really hit the team fight phase. I mean, what does Teemo really offer to a team fight if you're going to have Gragas and Nunu, Nasus running into the fight?
What is who going to offer? Teemo?
Teemo, yeah.
Not much.
Yeah.
Teemo does not.
It's going to get
offer
scary
much
for
to team
Cloud9
fights.
as this game goes on.
No.
Already.
They have to start
there.
being a split push team, and that's what they're working towards. They're trying to kind of smother on top of TSM's map control. TSM's not too much of a team fight team either when you consider just Sightstone Rush Nunu. That's not a huge team fight thing. He has some zoning in a team fight,
right?
But he's mainly about either disengaging or finding picks.
See the back lane. The back lane. Wild Turtle Special rather backing off in their lane. Only a Phage coming out right now to the BF sword for Sneaky, as he's trying to go Bloodthirster, which is different for him as well to have Caitlyn there. He's going to be a primary source of damage for the team coming into this one. And Lemon Nation is actually buying up more wards than usual per the early game. So the little changes as well that we were talking about.
Yeah, he's just now picked up his upgrade to Nomad's Medallion, but no, he's only got about 16 gold generated on that so far, so it's very new. He hasn't been getting that from the start. And it's really just a slow farm fest. I wonder how Sneaky will transition into a later game, because he had so much success on Ashe, for instance, just initiating team fights. He can't do that on Caitlyn. He needs to sit in the back and just be a carry, and that's not the style we're used to seeing him on. It doesn't mean he can't play it.
So as we're kind of sitting on the back heels here for both teams, we saw an explosive beginning. They both kind of had the same idea. It's definitely Cloud9 that put that into action as Team Solo Mid tried to bring it back in their favor. And there you can see High, a little bit aggressive, being read there by the wards, and just Bjergsen being Bjergsen, keeps himself safe. But it looks like Cloud9 is finally trying to mobilize and get something else going here other than the laning phase.
It's about time right here. It's a Bloodthirster completed for Sneaky. I thought they were going to do this way sooner, Riv, but now they have 4 people in the mid lane. They have a lot of shroom control on the sides, or at least they did a little while ago. High's trying to get more that he has the blue buff, and they're going to do their best to push up, especially since they caught Bjergsen during a back cycle.
Whoa, Lemon Nation grabbing the odd one. Didn't really need to. Putting damage on the turret. They're going to be fine with this. They catch Bjergsen at a great time actually being back to base. And mid-turret is actually prepped right now. Xpecial throws it out, but the fancy flash fingers from Cloud9 keep him safe in mid lane.
Really saw that one coming. Barely getting out of there. Bjergsen would have definitely thrown them back into the turret had that Tibbers landed the good stun. But look at how much of that turret was gone. It's now still a 4-man siege. They're going to try once again, and they know that Tibbers is down this time.
So that really, this rotation started. We saw Lemonation and Sneaky coming up from the mid lane the first time they pushed out Bjergsen. They get the turret, and this fight begins now. Lemonation very low. The Ignite takes him out. First blood going over to Wild Turtle, but the 80 carries straight retribution kills, and the calling on the backdraft is able to take down Vi. Oh, very nice job coming out, Turtle. It's up on the Sneaky. The 80 carry draw. The Ignite takes him down, and Xpecial's able to pick himself up a kill. Teemo coming out of nowhere, and he gets him with the mushroom.
Wow, so that was how you punish a push, in a sense, and they forced a team fight on a team with Teemo who didn't want to team fight. You can see Lemon Nation, while he did get a good box off, the rest of TSM was just dishing out damage. Bjergsen and Wild Turtle were effectively untouched, and High was way too close to the sun right there. He does not need to be melee range against Gragas. It meant he couldn't retreat once he was low, and then because Xpecial just got that Ignite on, he finished off. Also, somebody stepped on a mushroom.
That'll happen. 4-2 though, a very explosive fight. I'm glad that happened because they started to slow down way too much for anybody's liking. But good kills coming out. 3-1 in turrets as the mid turret did fall and was prepped very nicely. So TSM needed to get some kills there. Nah, they came up with them.
And if Cloud9 doesn't want to lose this game, they need Balls' Renekton to start making an impact now. If he waits another 15 minutes, Dyrus is going to make a much larger impact on Nasus. Dyrus can't do much yet. He doesn't even have his Iceborne Gauntlets. That's what he's building towards. And since Cloud9 just lost a 4v4, that option isn't necessarily there for them. They can't get caught in another fight like that one.
And it seems like Cloud9 is still sticking true to whatever strategy they had. As I said, that kind of started with Lemonation coming up to mid. Even though they lost the fight, got a little bit of the turret damage or turret coverage on it. They moved up to the top lane with Lemonation and Sneaky and took out the top one. So they're just methodically staying on course right now. Looks like High will find Dyrus. Whoa! That was some big damage right there.
That blinding dot hurts.
Just a little bit. I don't think Dyrus wants anymore, but it looks like he thinks he can keep the Wither in range. The body slam through the wall. High's not taking too much damage. Dyrus may be able to get himself back in this for one more Wither. Oh, the last barrel. What a do-si-do by these guys. Both teams trying to get into the fight and see which was the best angle. Bjergsen able to make it out quick enough. Ace in the hole. takes down Dyrus. So they again trade 1 for 1, but it's not over, chat. They get the assault and battery into the vault breaker down on Bjergsen, and it looks like Cloud9 is always in the right place at the right time right now. The odd one to follow up in mid.
Teemo's global taunt worked wonders right there. They wanted to kill high, and the rest of Cloud9 collapsed down. Let's see if they can continue their push here up towards the inhibitor. It's a very critical point in the game right now because TSM is trying to counter the fast push, but if they leave their inhibitor door open, that's going to be trouble all through the rest of the game.
They have a perfect combination in the top lane here to blood boil Lucian, make him strong. The teleport's going to be coming in. Oh, he goes so far! Will it matter?
He died. He was just way in there because he wanted. That was something we need to be able to see again. That was a big mistake and misplay by Lemon Nation. Total miscommunication. The turrets are actually up for TSM. They got 2 turrets in that Catch the Teemo game, and it is a fantastic job by them to really slingshot their gold back in this game. Plus, the Dragon's up right now.
It looks like they are going to be able to fight for this one. Pink ward goes down, so they have full coverage from that side. It's deep enough to see the back as well, so it's really going to be pretty, Vi is there. Meteos is just on the outside. This is going to be hard for him to be able to get in and out. His flash was used on the last fight, so he is all in if he tries to go for this. I don't think they're going to waste that much for the gold. It's not that big yet. He gets in with the build over Peacemaker. An amazing hit. The early smite coming out, the smite for Meteos did not happen, so that was an ability take.
No, it was a Caitlyn steal against a Nunu. Odd One completely messing up his timing on his consume plus smite because nobody should take Dragon from a Nunu, especially the Odd.
Really, the only thing that can happen is that you're relying on your team to burst with you. And this is actually the fight from before as well for Lemon Nation.
So Lemon Nation was trying to go aggressive on X Special right as the teleport came in. So he drew turret aggro, got stunned as Dyrus came in, and it was a whole bunch of trouble. But they should not have been trying to get that aggressive there. That's actually a second case where they should have focused on the turret instead of worrying about killing Annie.
Yeah, absolutely. We see coming into that Dragon, to touch on just the end point, is that everybody focused on Meteos when he came over the wall. So with Odd One expecting his team to do all that final burst for him to chomp it, you get damage to the champion and he smites early.
Yeah, I still feel like it's too much. It's too much damage that he has.
Just this, yeah.
I mean, you look at Bjerg at his smite, it's doing 640 damage, and his consume is doing 400 to minions. It's 1,000 damage spike, and if you time your consume properly, you know when the damage hits, and since smite is an instant cast, you should get 1,000 damage instantly.
Yeah.
And it should not be stealable if you execute properly.
Sneaky coming through big for his team there. They hold just about 1,000 gold lead, which really isn't much in the big picture of things right now. The Morellonomicon coming out for high, along with the Haunting Guys. And it looks like Sneaky's going to be turning that into a static shiv for himself.
He's going to be going most likely just for the Caitlyn push. They want to continue to push this game. They had the 4 turrets at 15 minutes into the game, which is a very early time to have them. But really, after they got those 2 kills on Dyrus and Bjergsen, they stopped that one. It looks like Meteos was trying to catch himself at Dyrus, but he just was a little bit too slow.
Yeah, they used the Talisman of Ascension there to get a bit of a chase. They were not able to pursue fully. So 4-3 in turrets. The mid turret going down really hasn't affected too much. High gets kind of baited into this fight. Annie's just on the backside, but he also thought he had Bjergsen in a position that he wanted so many mushrooms, but it's not going to be enough because Bjergsen just levels up through the damage anyways.
Yeah, and as long as High doesn't have any defensive itemization, he is consistently vulnerable to Bjergsen just destroying him with a couple barrels. That was a nice kill by Bjergsen.
And this is where we have to wonder what Cloud9 was actually trying to do with this composition, because they got the 3 roam on to the first 3 turrets.
Yeah.
They got the bottom turret, which they dove a little heavy, but are they going to start using Teemo as a split push? Do they keep Teemo in the fights? High's kind of trying to do his own thing right now. It's not really telling the story.
I think High wants to farm up a little bit more. He does just have his Morellonomicon and his magic penetration right now. As long as Cloud9 stays in the game and continues to split push smartly without taking deaths, then his shrooms can get powerful enough that they can bait TSM around some objectives and maybe get them low for mushrooms. If we notice TSM, they don't have a Sona or any type of Soraka, Taric, Kale, things that can heal well off of mushrooms.
This might be big for them if they can get Dyrus to teleport away and into this fight. But it's been disengaged. It would have been big moves here that Balls would have been able to use on top. But you can see he's already coming down. They are anticipating this to be a fight or his push mid.
Yeah, Cloud9 pulled back because they we're expecting TSM to be coming down. If Balls makes it into this fight, they would have an edge. But if it's a 4v4 in the bottom lane, as we've seen, TSM generally has the advantage.
Yeah.
They're going to be the ones trying to siege this against Sneaky's wave clear.
You have to consider they know they're there, but right now TSM has full vision on the team of Cloud9. So they would be kind of walking into this fight with a few enemies in the fog of war. But nobody decides to engage on this. They back off. Balls did a great job of rotating down, pressuring that mid lane, so they didn't really have to focus in the top.
Yeah, games with the mid Teemo are a little weird.
Yep.
As far as progression into the mid and late game. He is kind of like a second AD carry, if you think of it like that, but he gets to preemptively place all of his mushrooms to really want to fight in the same areas. So it's maybe a cross between an AD carry and a Heimerdinger, if we're really trying to do this one. And TSM needs to be very careful not to chase into the zones that High has set up. As long as TSM kind of sticks to the lanes and can get a few more pickoff kills and then cascade that into objectives, then they're going to be okay. But other than that, Cloud9 is doing good split pushing now.
We got to see that Dyrus is actually effectively trying to stop that, build himself a frozen fist right off the bat to really just get anybody out of his lane and deter them from trying to split push.
I'm really surprised that High hasn't started laning against Dyrus yet. Dyrus is completely itemized against Renekton with nothing but Ninja Tabi and even more armor from his Iceborne Gauntlets. If he actually went toe-to-toe with Teemo, High would beat him.
We saw earlier the Blinding Dart took a good 10% of his HP right off the bat. We'll have to see. The kills are coming slow. The turrets are just around the same.
Yeah, Balls' Renekton hasn't made much of an impact here. Yeah, Dyrus is a little bit farther behind in farm now.
Yep.
I think that's in part because he did have to go up against High that one time and ended up costing him his life. But a Renekton that farms 200, 300 CS but doesn't make it into team fights isn't useful.
Right.
Yeah.
Team solo mid trying to get that vision up. Odd1 getting caught there, and they do a perfect job of getting him on the side. Wild Turtle, ace in the hole, takes him down, and Balls is going to be able to segregate the rest of the team.
Nice
there.
hook.
Great hook onto X Special. They take him down. A double kill now for Balls as he is finally able to get himself what is needed to make an impact in these fights.
That's really important, actually, because Cloud9's already set up a couple of those mushrooms, and it was actually one mushroom that ended up helping to damage with that hook from Lemon Nation. Odd1 was trying to get some of his map control back. If we actually look at the entire screen here, he's lost vision past the jungle. Right over Shroom, trying to check if there is a dragon, and he just got a face full of Cloud9 right there.
They've been waiting for it. They
the rest
know
of this
that
fight was just them chasing him down. Very good hook, obviously, by Lemon Nation, but TSM was already in full retreat because Odd1 got taken down so quickly. And that's their zone control in team fights.
I was just about to mention that. It's almost like Cloud9 used not having as many wards to their advantage, knowing, well, that's not their advantage, but knowing that TSM is warding so much, let me say, because they have a Sightstone, but they also upgraded to Ruby, so that means they have wards everywhere, most likely. So when Cloud9 found out where they weren't, they hid there, and they ambushed.
And they're forced into all getting sweepers, too, which is actually decreasing the amount of wards TSM can put on the map.
Right.
Now that High is starting to become more of an annoyance on his 1-in-3 Teemo. Even though it doesn't look like he's impacting the game, he's having some very heavy swings on the way TSM moves, the way TSM thinks about playing, and the way they build their trinkets.
Well, you can see the mushrooms down the bottom side of the map. That is what makes you love Teemo so much, if you will. And we're going to see if TSM finds those quite soon. A lot of the aggression is going to be hovering towards Baron at this point. 25 minutes into the game, a 3K gold lead. Still very close between both of these teams and doesn't tell really anything that's been happening throughout this game.
If Cloud9 could sweep the Baron area a little bit better, they could get way more shrooms up towards there and start actually trying to force something. They obviously don't want to try and take Baron against a Nunu and a Gragas. That seems like just giving Baron to the other team. But they can catch some type of TSM fights that they can better control that area.
Good amount of burst now in Bjergsen. He has had that Rabadons for quite some time now with the Athene's finished, but it looks like High isn't going for any resistances really for himself. And like you said, should be matching up against Dyrus. They're really not taking advantage of something that would put them quite ahead, but he has the teleport as well, so he can always be in and out of that fight.
Yeah, at least now for High, he's kind of trapped in two different places because he wants to be Baroning up or shrooming up the Baron.
Yeah.
And if he's bottom lane fighting against Dyrus, he can't do that anymore.
Coming into our first NALCS match, the Teemo and the Nunu pick. Kai kind of faking us out with that one.
Yeah, Cloud9's still undefeated against TSM, and if they
Yeah.
beat him with Teemo, maybe it's like the ultimate disrespect. But with the way they've been playing this, High has been doing pretty well.
That's
like
great.
It does seem like a
If it wasn't, it
real
is
thing they've
now.
been doing.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kat.
no problem.
Looks like that wasn't a Talisman of Ascension. Just the Blood Boil going on as they get more wards down, the pink wards as well in high priority positions. But right now, that's being won by C9. C9 has that pink ward, and Dyrus is actually taking quite a bit of damage in this fight before using his ultimate. That Sunfire Cape is giving Balls a pretty good edge.
Yeah, Balls can definitely out-trade him for now. If he gets him a little low, and specifically if High can get down there to put damage on Dyrus, who still hasn't itemized any magic resistance, he would fall the Teemo pretty quickly. Meteos, though, is going to take some time.
They think they got enough damage to take him down. Not enough Fury to get the stun, but the slow comes in. Will he be able to activate the W? He will not. And that's one thing both these teams have, is a quick way to get to their team. They have the speed ups. High can get there. Lemon Nation was already heading down towards the bottom side before he got hit up. But everybody's ready to control the bait of these fights.
Yeah, that was actually... I don't think that gank for Cloud9 was meant to kill. It was meant to draw attention from TSM away from that middle turret. And only because Bjergsen was in that middle lane to ult away the wave did it save that turret. That was almost a very clever turret take by Cloud9, but Bjergsen was ahead of the game.
C9 coordinating when the sweepers are up. We did say that teams switched out the sweepers, or the trinkets to the sweepers now, and that's keeping TSM really on top of the vision. It's all about the mushrooms in that bottom half of the map, which is almost over mushroom now since they've been focusing on the top side, which still makes me consider where the Teemo pick goes and what it does for this team.
It does definitely seem like Cloud9's gained control, so TSM has to get it back. And considering mushrooms have a 10-minute life on the map, it takes a while to get some of this back. No matter how much they sweep, since they don't have self-healing, even if TSM starts winning some fights, they hit a couple shrooms, they have to turn around. It's very hard for them to get some of this control back on the map.
Nobody really has the sustain to hit.
This is why everybody hates playing against Teemo.
mushrooms.
Because you just can't do much once he gets ahead.
You've done all that work to get out, and then you hit a final mushroom.
He kind of suffocates the map.
I like that. He does suffocate the map. The bottom half, not looking too happy right now. It looks like Dyrus actually ate a few down there. But they keep focusing on the mid lane. They're giving time for Dyrus to farm up here. He is getting the magic resist he needs. We finally see High in the top. Are they stalling too much?
See, here's the thing. I don't know what either team can pull off right now to try and get something done. Obviously, TSM wants to force fights and punish Cloud9 when they try and push. But Cloud9 spent an extremely limited amount of time actually sieging around the turrets. Right now, Cloud9 seems very content to just take the objectives when they come up. Right. And Cloud9's kind of trapped in a spot here where they don't have the lead they wanted to, that they would need to have a strong 5-man siege that could actually fight TSM 5v5. So they're waiting on the Dragon respawns, doing that. They're scared of doing Baron because there's Gragas on the other side.
Right. They don't have like a crushing initiation. They have Vi, but then Gragas just blows you away. So kind of stalled out in a few aspects of that. 8
well,
to
here
6.
we go.
Oh, there is the Vi. Where's the Gragas barrel, though? Whoa, it's special. May not even get that for himself. The explosive cask is still up. Bjergsen finally uses it, but it's incomplete defense. It's when he was dying. The odd one looking to go down next. He tries to put Absolute Zero in a great spot. Lemon Nation with a nice fling onto that, but actually the kill goes to Balls, and they're able to get another kill onto Dyrus, leaving only Wild Turtle to run for his life.
So here's the big thing that Cloud9 was waiting for, is TSM stopped just defending their turrets, and they started moving into the Shroom field. And they hit a couple, then Cloud9 initiated clean on through them. That's why they won that fight so decisively. It was the setup time that was required for that. Now Cloud9 has the edge they wanted.
Really a great lockdown onto Xpecial. Tibbers was seen in that fight, but he was downed instantly as well. Turtle's going to do what he can to soak up everything and anything before he has to get back to base here. They still have good damage. It was just a great initiation from Cloud9.
Absolutely, and you saw how low Xpecial was before that. Some of that, I think, has to happen from just not having that much self-healing going into that as they're just taking this Dragon. You can see Xpecial was already down a little bit when he got Vault Breaker. So at this point, when they're trying to run away, you can see there's some poison on Odd One. just from High, who is now the untouched AD carry, and in a sense, Cloud9 has 2 AD carries just beating on TSM, who are in full retreat mode. The control was lost from TSM when they lost their CCing support so early, and when Odd1 wasn't able to set up a spot for Absolute Zero.
Wow, exactly what they wanted coming into that fight. Cloud9 showing why they were the top team of the split last year, and just during intense gameplay, they are able to continuously play at a consistent level that is #1.
Hey, only lost 3 times, beat TSM every time, and there's a death cap now finished by High. No defense. If he ever gets caught out by Bjergsen, that fight will not be in favor of Cloud9. But it's the Shrooms that means TSM has to win fight after fight to come back. And with the Baron buff, all the objectives that they've accumulated, and specifically the fact that Sneaky is sitting on so many powerful items right now. He's 4 full items compared to Wild Turtle, who doesn't even have his last Whisper yet.
Balls is getting pretty big, and right now that's one of the big factors. Wild Turtle wasn't even in the fight long enough to take damage, which means you know he wasn't doing damage to anyone. Balls was chasing straight ahead for that kill, and looks like they want to do it again. Setting up High even towards the front line. They have Baron now, so they want to get this 4 minutes of use out. They have about 2 minutes left on it. 32 minutes in the game, and this is when we would said the game would be somewhat over between these two teams, but it looks like they actually have quite a bit to go depending on this next fight.
Yeah, Cloud9's average win was in the 30-minute range back in the Season 3 split, but they were dominating pretty much everyone. There was a time in this game where TSM seemed like they had a bit of an edge, if not already controlled TSM a little bit, but they're looking like they're in a lot of trouble now. Just a couple hits from Sneaky force a retreat from TSM, and that turret, even with the wave clear from Bjergsen's Gragas, was just not defensible.
Piltover Peacemakers just absolutely tearing through Wild Turtle right now. It's not something you want to see happening. Well, 16s, they're still pretty much the same. And the highest level in the game is going to be Balls and Bjergsen right now, so everybody's kind of staying on the same level within that terms. 56,000 though to 47,000. Last time we looked at that, it was a 3,000 gold gap. The Baron, the Dragons, and the Turrets have told us a different story now. We kind of have something to go off of. Cloud9 has been capitalizing on the few mistakes that Team Solomid has been making. Just wholly.
And this is kind of where we also get to see the absence of Reginald in TSM. Was when they had the 8-kill-to-4 lead, they weren't making any really strong decisions. A couple people were making their own individual good plays. You would see X-Special and Bjergsen make a good play in the mid lane, and then nothing would happen after that. As a team, they weren't moving around extremely well. That's obviously Cloud9 was doing things to try and prevent that, but the old TSM with Reginald may have been a little bit more decisive in that situation.
More turrets in favor of Cloud9, and these aren't even ones that are needed to be used for purchasing items right now. They are fully in the driver's seat of this first matchup here in the Spring Split. And it looks like they want to get the first win as well and keep that record going strong. High, not even with the team right now. He's going around to make sure he can be a nuisance, make sure he can place more mushrooms in case of pretty much anything. That's really the situation. Get the lanes pushed as well in mid. It looks like they're going to keep going at the split push.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to be taking their time with this one. They slowly were able to get their lead in the first place. They have waited out this entire Baron just pushing around, and now they're kind of, I feel like they're going to be refreshing their Teemo Shrooms in the jungle of TSM, making sure they're always up. When the next Baron comes through, it's going to be a literal minefield for TSM to walk through, and Cloud9 may be able to just get another one. Obviously, in the meantime, if they can get a catch on someone, they would take it, but they're completely content playing this one safe.
And this one's a really, I gotta have to say, it's a thumbs up to Meteos if he can find and engage on the next fight. For TSM to be pinched into their base, Gragas, Tibbers there, that's going to be quite hard to get a good initiation and without your team falling behind quite hard. So it's up to Meteos, really, if he can put this one, unless TSM steps outside the base, but why would they want to do that right now?
So what happens now if Teemo wins Game 1 of North American LCS? How much more popular does he become?
I'm so glad Ranked is refreshed.
Yeah, I know. Nothing could go wrong. We won't see many Teemos in a new ranked game. Oh, dear.
Thanks, High.
Especially with his Liandry's Torment at this point. If someone hits a Shroom, and they don't have much magic resist, which no one on TSM really does, a third to half of their health with one hit. I mean, let's look. Every individual Shroom is dealing 810 damage, and that's not counting the Liandry's burn. So, look out.
I don't want to. There he is, just hobbling down in the bottom lane. He looks safe. He looks safe, right? That's completely safe. And he just puts a ward over the wall to make sure he can kill anybody he needs to. That sounds safe. So High doing what he needs, but the team, they actually not allowing him to fully split push. It's like a babysitted split push. Babysat, if you will, because of English.
Bjergsen would still kill him. He's got to land like 2 spells, and he would get rid of that Teemo once and for all.
Everything is theirs right now. This is their base, and they are pretty much taking it. They have not allowed TSM off their side of the court here. In a few minutes, the Dragon will be theirs. Baron is in 40 seconds, and really that's the only thing they may not want to do unless they get the fight that they haven't gotten yet. It's been a slow game since that last fight, Chad.
Absolutely. Cloud9 has just decided that they have the edge. They got that fight because TSM finally tried to take some of their territory back, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So at this point, until Cloud9 invades deeper into TSM's territory, TSM's not going to put up a fight. If TSM comes back into the Shroom land that has happened from Cloud9, they're going to get fought again. But until that happens, we get to see Cloud9 farm.
TSM is making it out of their base on this one, and it looks like Cloud9 is letting them have everything they want about it. Looks like they're going to get down to mid-turret here. Could see a pinch from both sides. That teleport on Dyrus is up, but they're not choosing to do any sort of split pushing, and they're literally trying to ward up and get vision of all of mid lane as they go down it, because this is what feels safe to them right now.
Exactly, and they're staying in the lane because they know that's the place where the Shrooms are probably not going to be.
Everybody got a pink ward
on the back.
All right.
This is the place where TSM would want to fight. If there is a fight they would win, they would want it here.
You can see the second Cloud9 does come back in, they start to really measure each other up in strength, and it's usually TSM backing off a little bit more. They know they have the siege clear. They can keep stopping stuff at a turret, or stopping minions at a turret, I should say. They're the ones to lose this one, right? It's Cloud9 that's trying to win this one very hard. So TSM's just kind of letting the ride go, and hopefully they get a good fight.
Yeah, Cloud9's not deciding to fight them in open ground, though. Cloud9 would only, because they're smart, they're only wanting to fight where the Teemo Shrooms are. And it's on Cloud9 to try and catch someone in the open where the Shrooms aren't. And at this point, with the Baron happening, TSM should go straight up the mid lane, because that's what they know is safe, and they can actually get something there.
They are going to try to take down this turret. Baron's going to go to Cloud9. This means TSM feels that they can take what they need here and make the fight still happen in their favor. They're getting good poke damage, not even good poke damage onto Balls. He's going to keep him there for the fight. He is almost locking down 5 members. They don't want to move. They're all magnetically attracted to him, and Dyrus is the focus for Cloud9 right now. This could give Wild Turtle and the rest of the team enough time to do damage, but Cloud9 is just too tanky. Meteos coming through, the AoE damage picking up 2 in a row. Bjergsen is the last one standing. They only lost Sneaky.
Yeah, that was a completely landslide victory for TSM. It was kind of the best chance TSM had of finding a fight, but they were so far behind. 12,000 gold plus Baron before that one started. It's just Cloud9 steamrolling through TSM now.
Really focusing to a great fight, or not focusing, I should say. Both the tanks getting a little bit of love in the beginning of that one. I think it cost TSM a little bit of damage, and there are now inhibitors going down at 39 minutes into the game. 14-9 is the score. As we saw, the champions started to be farmed more than the turrets now. That is 7-4 in turrets.
And just kind of to go back to the team compositions, when Team Solo Mid picked Nunu, they picked a heavy control composition as we looked at this. So if they get caught in a full team fight and don't move, they're not taking advantage of his mobility edge, since they lost that with Teemo. Then Cloud9 can just collapse in around. High actually flashed in from behind the fight here to just pop Wild Turtle as he was trying to do this fight, and once that happened, the fight was over. Bjergsen got distracted, finishing off. Since there's no AD carry, there's no damage left for TSM, and that's the big reason Cloud9 won that fight.
2 big double kills coming in for High and Meteos there, and these guys have been playing a fantastic first matchup coming in, especially with Teemo. It does bring the unpredictability of what's going to happen, and you kind of forget he's there in a fight, as they did last game when he flashed over the wall. But he doesn't really bring anything to the fight, so it's also kudos to High for making it work this well.
I think a little bit of this is the element of surprise.
Right.
And innovating AP mid Teemo in competitive play here.
In competitive play, I like that. We'll stick to that.
Yeah, in competitive play. I mean, the European Challenger Series yesterday had the first Yasuo Trundle I had seen, where Trundle would throw up his pillar, and because that's a displacement, Yasuo could ult off of it. And it was against Ocelot's Challenger team, actually, Gamers 2, who did not move on, and they are out of this particular Challenger Series now. because it seemed like they weren't ready for it. They didn't know how to deal with the initiations. They were shocked, and once it happened a few times, they were kind of lost as to what to do. I think there's a somewhat similar thing happening in the TSM game, is TSM hadn't fought against High's mid-lane Teemo before, and even though Bjergsen killed him a few times, once he started to kind of control both sides of the map, since he was a mid-lane Teemo, and he was getting shrooms down in the Dragon area and in some of Odd1's jungle entrances, TSM just lost their map control, and they didn't know how to get it back against a Teemo. That's the big reason Cloud9's pulled ahead.
Dyrus getting a little bit of focus from the lockup as Cloud9 knows they have the lead. They know, usually you say, oh, we want the hook up, but the hook being down isn't really even that much of a problem for them. Again, they get another one onto the odd one, straight on, threading the needle. Meteos to Wild Turtle on the back line. Absolute Zero goes down, but nobody's really in it. Just the tanks eat up the freeze, and it looks like they are going to keep pushing Team Solo Mid back into their base. The inhibitor easily going to come from this, Jet, and Cloud9 continues to flex their muscles.
Yeah, they are so strong right now. Baron buff still ringing around, a lot of them right here. 6 items fully on Sneaky, 400 CS, because he has been free more than anyone else to farm as much as he wants in this game.
That's it, to compare the AD carries as well. You see 6 items Sneaky. You're looking at that Bloodthirster still being finished and the Magic Resist item still being finished, which are wholly and completely finished on the other side. 4,000 gold separates the AD carries.
And you'd think a lot of times if you have a Nunu on your team, it can make up for some of that gold disadvantage.
Regular speed.
But when you run Nunu with Lucian, it is really just for the mobility, because Lucian isn't an AD carry that relies heavily on his auto attacks. He's a lot about weaving his spells in between his auto attacks and getting those double shots off. The Blood Boil doesn't help him as much as it would Caitlyn on the other side. Even with all that, like Lucian Nunu is still really popular, but it's because of the map control and mobility, which TSM is not taking advantage of.
Another Dragon for Cloud9, 6 for Dragons, 2 for the Baron. So these guys have really just overall controlled the entire game. It's something we've known them to do, and they made it through laning phase a little better than we would expected from what happened last.
That was one shroom on Dyrus.
It needs to stop. There we go.
Look out. Okay, he's staying with
He's
the
like,
minions.
where are the minions going? I can follow these. Their personal sentries.
They hit one.
Everybody is just, it's like a huge hailstorm that everybody's trying to get away from. You just see them all running home.
Poor
15
guys.
to 9.
And it sucks for TSM. At this point, it's pretty much hopeless for them, because they've shown they can't win straight up team fights. You clearly don't beat Teemo by running through his shrooms on the other sides of the map. And those are the 2 options TSM has here.
I'm sure TSM would be loving an Oracles right now. Figure out what's happening around them.
Well,
Cloud9.
they got all those sweeper guys. They're not working that well.
Can't sweep them if you're just going to walk into it first. 44 minutes on the clock. The front door is wide open, and the welcome mat has been placed out by Team Solo Mid. They're going to go ahead and give up this inhibitor. They're going to stretch it out most likely to the top lane here. They have the bottom lane already pushed out and everything already warded. TSM has actually reverted to not really needing to ward anymore. The only thing they have is in that bottom lane, so it's almost as if the Nunu itself fell behind in the vision. Cloud9 was just able to overcome it.
Yep.
I guess when you don't want to go in your jungle,
you can't ward your jungle.
You can't ward your jungle.
Exactly. This is going to be their tried inhibitor number 3. It wouldn't surprise me too much if Cloud9 waited a little bit longer, decided to pick up another Baron just for the safety. You can see this game stretching quite long because Cloud9 is taking their time, and really the only fights they've taken are the ones that TSM has kind of opted into. Cloud9 knows that they could have starved out TSM this whole time, and they did, and they waited for TSM to go and walk into their territory.
Cloud9 has 3 Banshees, 4 Banshees Veils. That's kind of mean. You're dodging pretty much all of those ults that make you not want to initially dive, especially that's on Meteos. If they don't get the right ults onto him, he's in and to the back line, as he was last time. He hit Wild Turtle straight past the inhibitor, and Absolute Zero didn't even keep balls off of him.
Sneaky didn't make it in. He can just shoot it from over the top. Oh, he's got a Thresh Lantern now. Come on, hop, take the lantern. There we go. That was the time to take the lantern.
That was pretty mad life-ish.
Got a loose definition of what mad life is nowadays.
So we got Dyrus still clearing out in the bottom lane as he does, pushing minions. and we're going to see if they can get to this top lane. The inhibitor turret is the last one that sits. 11 turrets on the map. There's 8 crushed down by Cloud9 right now. TSM has only been able to find 4, so really they're hovering home base pretty much all game here. They've had a tough time.
Whenever Cloud9 wants, they can probably go in for the final fight here. They're going to wait for as many spells for TSM to burn as possible. Culling definitely hurts. Sneaky's going to have to go lifesteal a little bit off of that. But to talk about your Banshee's Veils a little bit more, actually is it has stopped TSM from making any type of comeback in a sense. Because either X-Special or Bjergsen wants to initiate with a Tibbers or an Explosive Cask, and if it's onto a Banshee's Veil, that is not possible.
It's like a different form of the Gambit Guardian Angels.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Special. Oh, man. They're in everything at full length right now. Great catch there by Wild Turret.
Cost him a bit of health, though.
A lot of health. They're going to get this turret off. It's the poke damage that they have is very hard and conditional to get, but they're doing it over and over again. TSM's letting it land. Inhibitor now to go down. They just took down Dyrus, and that's a 70-second timer.
Yeah, and Sneaky is at max items, which is why these guys are melting so hard. High and Sneaky both hitting the same target. No matter what he has, is going to die in under 5 seconds. So they're just going to crush through this. If TSM wants to fight him, Cloud9's going to end it.
50 seconds on the Death Chamber for Dyrus. They take down 1 turret. Even the net does a hell of a lot of damage there to Lucian. Wild Turtle backs off to the fountain to get what he can. Lock into the Iron Solari goes down, but is it enough? The absolute zero put out for show. And it looks like the Nexus will be the next to fall here. The culling comes out. They are just absolutely taking everything they can away from TSM. And the win, 17-9, your first game of the North American LCS in the 2014 split goes to Cloud9.
And that game would be the first and last time we saw a mid-lane Teemo in North America. Cloud9 and TSM would continue to keep pace throughout the split. Cloud9 finishing with a 24-4 record, TSM just 2 losses behind them. Ultimately, though, Cloud9 would earn their second championship title after defeating TSM 3-0 in the finals. Now it's time to take a break, but we've got more Classic Legends coming up. When we return, we'll take a look at the debut weekend for Immortals in the spring of 2016. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone, to Classic Legends. Next up on the docket, we'll be showcasing a matchup from the first week of the 2016 Spring Split, Immortals versus Team Impulse. The dynamic duo of Huni and Reignover had set their sights on North America after helping Fnatic achieve their most successful year to date. They joined Immortals, a brand new team that would go on to take the NALCS by storm, and they came out strong in their debut weekend. Freak and Zyrene were on the call.
And I'm looking for the shot calling here. We just saw a great game from High where he's pretty much directing everybody around the map. Here, though, Huni Reignover taking up this mantle, trying to kind of add their own style and learn off of what Yellowstar had taught them. Are they able to actually just run them around the map? I want to see a clean game here from Immortals, because in a lot of people's minds, these two teams are the teams that have the biggest delta between them in the standings in terms of where they expect them to be.
Definitely a top versus bottom matchup here, but on any given Sunday, things can happen. The chant from the crowd is, "I believe in TIP." I believe if I heard you guys right. Shout outs to you guys. We heard some Renegades chants, I believe, yesterday when I was casting as well. So
Renegades had flags.
Hey, someone believes in me. Thank you very much.
No.
I believe in me too.
Same.
Minions have spawned.
I believe in Zyrene. And that I believe you exist. I believe in you. As in, like, kids believe in Santa Claus. I believe you're not a mythical mythical creature. Zyrene is real. I can touch him.
So this is like one of those things where you're like, I believe in you. Like it's like a positive thing, but you're like, I believe you exist.
Yep.
It's like negative. Why do you keep going back and forth?
Schizophrenic, guys. But here we go, into the game. I'm not making this one up either. Bebe getting a nice, really strong leash actually from his duo lane. Huni also sitting up with Reignover. The walk into lane thing is already there. It's interesting if you're a top laner. So there's a rule around how minions work. If no one touches the minions, they will actually spread focus, and you have a lot of time to give a leash before minions die. If you're not leashing as someone, you should actually mess with the minions slightly and make them focus one of your minions. You can make that happen. Which will actually then deny XP from someone who's giving a hard leash.
Yeah, the minions were actually changed in the first wave. They were coded so that they don't actually focus fire if they're left alone.
Yep.
Because the problem with that was people would clear stuff on the other side, then they TP in, and RNG would wreck
minions.
your lane.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jinx. You owe me an ADC.
An 8. Okay, right on that, Freak. I'm gonna write you one later on.
Great, thanks. Wow, mid lane fight already happening. Gate and Pobelter. Jeez. The floodgates are open. So much damage coming through. But I feel like Pool Party Lulu could handle that, you know?
Yeah, probably a thriving environment for it.
Huni pushing in on the Thing right now. Temporary CS lead, but there's a whole lot of minions ready to be killed. Huni has missed literally 0 CS, by the way. He's on set for 19.
How is there already a 500 gold lead? It's just
because there's this whole wave right here. Yeah. Bot lane's pushed in as well. Every single lane is pushing. It's gold in the air. Wild Turtle, Javelin's on. Exhaust, Wild. Oh, okay. Now he's got
to
lead. Adrian with a great tornado tags the support and Nidalee to buy enough space for Wild Turtle. No summoners lost for Immortals, and the exhaust is down for Ken.
Oh, man, baby.
If they're willing to all in that hard, I'd rather see a Flash Pulverize, honestly, and just guarantee it. And then headbutt backwards. That guarantees you the kill. Unfortunately, it was still close. They almost had it happen. But Adrian with some very good play, and Wild Turtle with good patience to save the summoners. Huni battling Fang. Good riposte. I believe actually did block a cleaver.
And I actually want to break down supports for a minute here, because we have all these different types of supports in the NALCS. We have great engagers. Like, you think of how High is playing. You think of how Bunny Fufu starts fights. Remy. Adrian is actually, in my mind, the best NALCS. Hold on a second.
Oh, baby. He's running. Reignover's on. And got him. First blood solo kill in the enemy.
Oh, second two.
And another flash burn as well. Jeez, Immortals already.
Already. Oh, man. That pickup in the top lane, though, that's the aggression, though. Huni had this lane pushed. So even if things went bad for Reignover, he would be there first over Feng. And he'd be able to actually come in there. But look at this.
The bot lane, they go no exhaust for the support means that there's a lot of time for Wild Turtle to hit. That Mash couldn't trade back. That trade was only good because of the Summoner Spell disadvantage there, and it means the trade goes equal despite an earlier gank. No piercing light hit just yet, but Mash really wants in. And with the shield down for 3 seconds, they have a window they don't use just yet. There it is. But the shield's back up. They waited too long.
Turn on Mash.
Ooh. Summoner heals on both sides. TP could be available for both, but only Huni is coming into. It's Pobelter who comes in. He doesn't dodge it. Nice glitter lance in from Pobelter. Second kill of the game for Immortals.
Too late on the flash there from Mash. He already got tagged by Lulu's E. If you're going to flash, you got to do it earlier. He tried to do it reactively, but Pobelter too fast.
You had to also guess who it was. I don't know if they had eyes on who was actually showing up, but you only got a TP away from one of those.
Yeah.
Fiora wouldn't have reached you, but
not
2-0. Immortals doing very well for themselves. These guys do not wait long. I mean, they had a super fast win over Cloud9 in day 1, and they're turning the gas on already.
Oh, Huni's taking a substantial amount of damage in this top lane. Hasn't backed just yet. Yeah,
Feng survived the lane. He's down 13 CS, but Feng has survived the lane at least. And he's going to force a bad recall. Either it forces a TP usage out of Huni for a 5-minute cooldown, or Feng pretty much equalizes the CS score.
Probably going to be a TP here. I don't think he wants to miss this wave. There you go. And he gets the one before it actually hits the turret, so no turret shots are going to come through here, and he's going to pick up all these.
All right. He's going to keep like plus 17 when the recalls come through. Yeah, smart by Huni. He doesn't miss the wave because of his really good TP timing.
Exactly. And now it's up to Feng. Does Feng actually want to keep this TP for a play on some part of the map and synergize with Gate? Or is he going to try to use it just to stay a little bit even in CS? I think you actually hold on to this because the wave is so pushed forward that even if you TP to it, you'd be at a risk.
Huni is actually freezing it. He cleared the wave properly to actually still allow the red side wave to stack up. So this is, we're going to count the number of waves lost. Even if Feng TP'd, this would still be 1 wave lost so far. And now we got to see if it's another wave lost as well. How much of this wave he's going to lose by Huni's proper minion wave management. I don't believe we give enough credit to this, but he's going to be, looks like 7 to 8. Well, it was 7 for the first wave because it was a cannon wave. It looks like 8 minions will be denied by proper wave management. Maybe 9. Yeah, it's still growing.
But he gets a pink ward.
Feng's still not in lane, by the way. He's killing a ward right now.
So a little bit missing out on this experience.
XP on 9 CS on 10 minions by Huni's wave management.
Huni also Huni also has a bit of a freeze still. He's going to start pushing back towards the turret, but it's going to take a little bit. On the other side of the map, though, whenever TF leaves lane, you have to be careful.
7, and he's already recalled once.
Gate.
So he has items.
Gate loved Twisted Fate, and he loved Jace.
I mean, too slow.
That's why his name is Gate.
Yeah. Team Impulse had the right idea, but they were 5 seconds too late to stop Rainover on the red buff. They were there, just not in time. Huni winning a trade yet again onto Feng. It's only going to get worse since they've both recalled once and got items. Here comes a push on a Pobelter who does not have flash. Ken should be able to get this. There's the headbutt, there's the pulverize, there's the gold card. But Ken, only level 4, can't make the dive happen. He's going to die for this one. Whoa. They don't have the damage to kill him. Now Bebe getting attacked without flash. Rainover is not going to chase this one in just yet. He'll survive. He's got a potion going.
Okay, just barely. That extra auto with the red smite on as well as the red buff.
Red smite, red buff was more out than I thought. You're right. It was close to the
he's going around top, though. He's just applying pressure on Feng.
Feng knows, though.
Feng now has to give up minions, though.
Impulse with reasonably good communication, and now Feng, I think he just needed to run to the right and just suck it up. He's going to get cocooned at some point. He's just taking auto attacks now. He's not going to get away from this one. I think he probably was dead anyway, but I think a slight misplay all the same.
He had no flash, so Adrian just played it very safe. Yep. Slow, walk up to his face, and then use it.
If he's going to juke, just auto attack.
Yeah.
Make them commit to actually running away before you send a skill shot out. And you just get your damage, you get your damage, you get your damage. And he still hasn't dodged it.
But still, this has been a great move from Rainover. Coming mid, ganking, making sure that he picks up that kill, pushing Bebe out, and when you push the jungler out, you know you're not going to be able to have a counter gank top, so you immediately run there, and look at this!
No!
Hey!
That's the kind of move tilts are made out of. Feng TP's in the lane, immediately gives away another 350 gold. Into the mid lane goes Wild Turtle. Gate forced to just die. Wild Turtle! Valkyrie's forward continues to succeed every single champion Wild Turtle's played so far. You can move block into the enemy team, and it's been the right choice almost every time.
Oh, he had a package for him. Jumps right in, and I think that this is actually a very scary champion to put in Wild Turtle's hands. Just because he has that ability to jump in, and then you still have access to Valkyrie as well after you use the package, so you get to use it twice. In the mid lane, though, hey, special delivery. Pushes him a little bit forward, but it does get a slow portion of it, and then he also has the Lulu picks as well for that extra damage. So
he wouldn't have killed without that damage.
Yeah, Pobelter's actually helping out a lot here. Bottom lane, flashes, gets mashes in return, gets the kill, and then in the mid lane here as well. Had that turnaround, and then once again, this one here that Wild Turtle was able to pick up with that extra damage.
Wild Turtle right now trying to freeze his bot lane out. Ken and Mash taking not the best recall ever. A lot of attack damage on this Lucian right now, though.
I actually want to touch on something with Huni's build, because I just said in the last game that with Fiora's, you want to build Jarm's Fist first and get HP, but against a Mundo, you actually need the Vamp.
You need lifesteal to survive the lane.
Yes, so what Huni will most likely be doing is he'll turn this into a Ravenous Hydra, immediately change it into a Titanic.
I think you keep it for a while.
But then you can swap it back after you get Black Cleaver or Phage. He might, maybe
I think
he
it's a matchup you keep the lifesteal in, because like the need for lifesteal doesn't change in this case. You need it to beat Mundo because he regens and pokes you. Would be my guess.
Yeah, and also
you can change later in team fights.
Dyrus was saying if you have more HP, his Q does more damage to you. So
yeah, it doesn't actually make you tankier against Mundo in almost any meaningful way.
So you want the Vamp instead.
Yeah, I think he keeps the game the way it is my guess, but who knows?
Yeah,
I do weird things.
These builds are just so versatile on Fiora because you can swap out the Ravenous for Titanic Hydra and as much as you want, and it's free. So at different stages of the game, you can use the different version of it.
Also, Huni going in for early boost of swiftness as well. This will help him run around and pop vitals, as well as the slow resist should help him quite a bit against these cleavers.
Looking for a dive here on top, though. Gate moving towards this area, as well as Ken.
The whole team's coming.
There's Bebe as well. Here comes the dive.
This is going to be very difficult. He's going to get banged first.
He's healing.
Stuck in 1v3, just kidding. The 2v2. Pobelter is here. And look at that. Immortals is turning the fight right around. Right round, baby. Right round. In comes Ken. They want to get this one to happen. Huni still not going down. Pobelter on the chase. Kills off Bebe. He got back, and now Huni is still in the chase. Gate dying as well. It was 2 versus 4, and they win it. Immortals living up to their name.
2v4, no deaths, no dragons, no turrets taken just yet.
Adrian solo, duo kills the turret.
Duo kills the turret, but that's what the rest of the members were doing, was applying pressure. And then even in the bot lane, that wave was pushed up all the way to Mash. Look at the minimap as well. Turtle's down there pushing.
Perfect riposte.
So everybody's applying pressure here. He comes through. Huni just sitting on the heel for as long as he can. And then right there, he sees Ken coming up. So he goes back, but he still goes for vitals for the heal. And he got the wild growth, so he's in a great spot in terms of HP. And he keeps hitting the vitals on the side. Gets that burst of HP back, and he has that vamp too. Oh, the flash to the other side.
Flash Q, I think he got the vital with it.
To get another.
Actually, no, I think he went into fog, and so it re-picked one. Either way, though, I mean, really smart by Huni. Only went in when he had a vital to hit to get the heal to make that trade worth it.
So he's sticking on the Ravenous Hydra for right now, just for that damage. I think he swaps it up if he ever does.
Yeah, he might not need to. I mean, this game is going very quickly towards the TIP Nexus.
Yeah, it's just one of those things I like to monitor.
Sure. No, I love monitoring this kind of stuff, so I'm right there with you in terms of enthusiasm here. All right, Immortals going for their next objective to control. Dragon number 1, nice buff of stats for everyone. 6% bonus attack damage and ability power. And this, of course, does count your base AD, so everyone gets at least like 4 attack damage, even if you didn't build any.
I feel like the Immortals lineup is getting to the point where they're just like, okay, now we're competing against each other. Who can get the most kills?
Well, that's not fair, because Rainer was going to show up top all the time. Although Rainer was practically winning.
Well, Pobelter has the most.
Yeah, well...
Highest kill participation as well.
He brought TP just to get more kills, all right? That's called cheating.
TP is cheating, huh?
Sure. Yeah. Anything to make AD carries look better, you know? I can't TP. Oh, there's the engage, though. Oh, no! Wild Turtle! Oh! Gets the Wild Growth! Gets the channel! It stays alive! Wild Turtle! The team keeps him afloat just barely. Ken has to run. There's a Cocoon onto him.
Oh,
taking a lot of damage. Has to run away.
Oh, man.
Might burn. No, he healed. But
he killed him!
Wow. I don't even know what got him.
I don't think he does either.
Pobelter killed him. Pobelter, does he have a red buff?
No. Pobelter got a nice Q.
Yeah, I think he got a Q off a pick somehow. So 12-0. This game is getting really difficult for Impulse. A 14.5-minute push towards the inhibitor. One of the fastest takes we're going to see probably all year in professional League of Legends.
Hey, bring down that average in NA.
Bringing down the average game. The sub 15-minute inhibitor take. Immortals are so deadly.
They're literally immortal right now. They have not died.
This is right now, Caster Curse on pace for a perfect game. Would be, I believe, our first perfect game of professional LoL in quite a while. If it happens, we still got a lot of room to go.
Yep. It's true. Just one misstep and that person has to buy team dinner. I like this so much because Rainover smites him so that he has the...
the pick was still on him. That's what it was. It was still on him from a long time ago. And he barely got the cooldown. Actually, no, he would have died, so it popped anyway. But
yeah. But that was a very long pick. It was on there for a very long time. But I like that Rainover smited him with the red smite and just continued to auto. And then he's really good. Rainover's really good at changing into into human form and getting that last auto attack off with the red smite.
Wild Turtle finds Bebe, finds some damage. Gets stunned up. Gate trying to kill off Wild Turtle. Ignite is on. Here comes the culling. Wild Turtle gets out. Nice pick up there. Rainover gets the execute. And the flash cocoon lands on the Gate. Down it goes. Pobelter is dominating 6-0 and 3. Just kills spread across everywhere. No one has high KP in this game. Everyone from Mortal's getting kills.
Yeah, when people don't have high kill participation, it means these skirmishes are happening. You're not involved in them. Hooney's killing somebody on the other side of the map. Your team is just going down the middle. And they're going down the middle right now. 5 people here to take this inhibitor turret and an inhibitor.
Inhib number 2 at 16 minutes. Only a minute after the first one. Minute and a half to be more specific here. But this team recalled and showed right back up. The Lich Bane coming soon for Pobelter. There is just tower taking for days here.
Something crazy about Immortals is their wave control. We were talking about how Hooney was managing the wave top to try and create small CS leads for himself and then punish off of that. They do that bottom lane and mid as well. Go watch the game from yesterday. Every time that Immortals would fight C9, they had pushing waves. So if you answered with a TP, that wave would slowly push out. You'd miss CS, it would hit your turret, it would give some turret damage, and that happened consistently here. They're very good at being on the same page of who is pushing and how far are they going to push up.
Blue Pobelter, nice and easy there. I do like how builds have evolved because Lich Bane gives CDR. You can do Lich Bane Lucidity Boots, and that's already 10 cooldown reduction right there at the start. So he's sitting on 30 CDR without any other major investments, and it allows him to really change his builds up. Like, you can go Rod of Ages, which is an insane item, and not have to get like a 20 CDR item like a Merlinomicon. I think it's very good on someone like Lulu. Ken's not in a good spot.
Hiya, Barbie.
Hooney has to respect the knockups, puts in the repose perfectly. Again, blocks a gold card, but stuns Ken, and Ken goes down 15-0. Barbie is sad, but we're going to keep moving forward with Immortals, looking for an 18-minute push towards the top mid inhibitor now.
They're looking for the perfect game here on Immortals' side, trying to live up to their name and just make a statement here. But they are not on this level.
I wonder if they could win before 20 minutes. That would be insane. Not even able to surrender in a professional game of League of Legends. Another kill. Pobelter basically one-shots Bebe. 18 minutes on towards the Nexus. Impulse couldn't surrender if they wanted to. And Immortals looking for blood, looking for the kill, looking for absolute perfection in this game. Both Nexus turrets down. 18 minutes and 10 seconds. Rainover trying to stay alive. The Nexus is low. Can they do it? A perfect game in 18-15 for Immortals.
Hooney and Rainover wouldn't be able to match their perfect regular season on Fnatic, but at 17-1, they came very close. Despite incredible regular season performances, Immortals was never able to claim a championship in North America. Thank you for tuning in to the first edition of Classic Legends. We'll return soon with more matches from the LCS Vault. And as we continue to recall the best battles in North America, be sure to tell us the incredible games you think we should cover by tweeting LOL Esports using the hashtag #ClassicLegends. That's all we have for you tonight, but we'll be forging more moments and memories this weekend with Week 2 of the LCS Spring Split. See you then.